Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. This is the day for the fifth place. Hikaru is playing the current world champion in classical chess, Gukesh, and we're about to have a fantastic match, and we're going to be cover everything. Maria, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Christian. Good morning, chat. How is everybody doing? I know we ended on a very kind of low note yesterday, but what to do? Bad days happen. Good days also happen, right? So today will be a good day. Yeah, cheers to that with my big mug. Uh,
You got some coffee as well. Yes, I
yes,
need
of
my coffee
course.
right now, but yes, absolutely. Look, yesterday, tough match, obviously, against Sindarov, a player that played a fantastic match as well. But Hikaru, I have to say, again, there's a lot of positives to be taken, but in the end, what affects the most is the result. And unfortunately, the result was not the one that everybody wanted, including Hikaru. Hikaru was obviously very hard on himself yesterday when he came to the interview, but I'm sure today he's refreshed and ready to play and ready to take on the classical world champion. And again, a victory against the world champion in any format is a victory against the world champion. It's quite
Mhm.
significant.
Yeah, of course, of course. And Gukesh did not have the best tournament so far. He did lose 2-0 to Fabiano, but
Mhm.
he did not lose out of the opening. So he is definitely to be careful to play against. But I feel like while the position is super unclear and super not chess-like, anybody has a chance.
Absolutely. And Hikaru is starting with the white pieces, still classical chess. We're still in stage two. And this is what we're going to see from the players. Now, on our screen, we see Sindarov right there. He's facing Fabiano Caruana in the semifinals. And the other semifinal is the one between the local favorite, Vincent Keimer, against Magnus Carlsen. Now, why we don't have moves is because the players have simply just not started their games yet.
Yeah, so far only Sindarov has something to think about, which he likes to do. So yeah, we can discuss the position at the
Absolutely.
moment.
Let's do that.
It's a very interesting setup. So no piece is on a normal starting square.
Ah, that's a good point. Yes, yes, absolutely none.
And both knights are in the corner. This is gonna be
Knights in the
tricky.
corner. So knights are probably going to go to b3, my guess is.
Yeah, b3, g3. But
A3,
then
G3,
we
yes.
need to decide what to do with the pawn on g2. Do we
Well,
push it first?
there you
And
go.
we do,
You
and we do.
you have an answer.
Because you really don't want to block the queen, the rook, and the bishop. All three pieces need a lot of fresh air. So pushing f2 and g2 pawns is very logical, especially with white. I can expect Gukesh to do the same, g5.
G4, G5.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if he doesn't, maybe we will push f4 anyway, but if he doesn't, we definitely do it.
I do think that f4 is the next logical sequence and the next logical continuation in this one. And I'm looking at the Nodirbek versus Ali Reza, the other fight for fifth place match. And that one started with one f4, f4 followed by f6. So definitely if Gukesh does not respond with g5, I'm thinking that Hikaru is going to take full control of that side with f4.
Hmm. And the next plan, I mean, we also have sort of automatic move bishop f2 coming to mind because of a 7 pawn hanging.
Hmm.
On the other hand, f4 will be unprotected, at least for a bit. But yeah, white
Yes.
has upper hand here. I feel like there is a lot of tempos that they can grab.
Probably we'll see G5.
Mhm.
I think you said it right. I mean, if you allow F4, Bishop F2, and you get all these tempo moves, it just doesn't feel like the right approach if you are Gukesh or if you are black in this case. So I do believe that G5 is going to come in the position. Now, one thing that Hikaru did mention yesterday, he said that today he's just going to freestyle. He's not going to prepare. He's not going to try to take it too hard. He's going to focus on regaining that joy, that he has and that he plays with, and not put too much pressure on himself. Just take it easy and try
Mhm.
to play a good game of chess, but have fun at the same
Yeah, exactly. At least there is always content, right? Uh,
time. Right.
and Sona. There was some development on social media with Fabiano and Danny, both in bathrobes, but then Fabiano added, "I did not expect Danny to show up in the on the stage in the same bathrobe." So at least Fabiano did not do that.
No, no, no. I don't think he would have accepted to do that, even if he would have been
No,
invited. Danny,
even
on
if
the
he
other
is
hand,
running late.
if yeah,
Cannot imagine Fabi even showing up with not done hair. Like
Fabi is a
even that
serious
is
guy.
unacceptable.
Fabi is a serious guy.
Yeah.
Um, but once again, I mean, this is just it's all for fun, and I completely understand it. They're having a good time in Germany. I was seeing that they were playing a lot of poker. They were doing all these side events. So the players, they're definitely the focus of the organizers in Germany right now.
Yeah,
Now,
all the guests are treated really, really well in Bison House. Last year, we also had a lot of fun activities, chess boxing, there was table hockey, even the world champion in table hockey teaching us how to do it, and some chess boxing professionals, and a lot of chefs, like the one day even Michelin star. The whole restaurant crew came from Hamburg for one night to cook.
beautiful. Now,
Yeah.
Maria, I have to show you a nice little tactic, which I think
Mhm.
is going to be somewhat relevant to this game, because I'm seeing this very weak square. So, for example, knight to
Oh,
b3,
B7.
you might
Mhm.
be saying, okay, sure, I'm just going to play symmetrical with knight b6. I think after knight c5, you're already in deep trouble. I might be wrong because I see the bar going down
Is it
towards black. But
no, but
sorry,
castle?
how exactly do you? Oh, you can castle.
Oh, that's a long castle. Yeah, you can castle.
You can actually castle.
Imagine getting completely shocked.
I was
And
going to say that. Look, there's no way to defend
yeah,
b7, and you're in
I
trouble. This is a huge blunder.
I can imagine people like just resigning.
But then you can just simply castle.
You can
Uh,
simply castle.
for whatever reason, castle was not even on my radar because the bishop was on b8, and I was like, okay, somehow that
Well, it
bishop.
looks like a short castle with the king on d8, so
That's funny. That is funny. Okay.
that is funny. I did see an interesting idea which I think Fabi is going for. So Fabiano first played f3, which seems like a very unambitious and quiet move.
Mhm.
But if you follow it with bishop f2,
Yeah,
and
f3, f5. This is what we have in the one semifinal between Fabiano and Sindarov. F3,
yeah,
f5, bishop f2. Yes,
yeah, well, for example, knight goes to b6, and black thinks they are fine, right? But then how
sure.
do you develop the left side of the board? Because you
Well,
cannot push.
I'm going to go castle.
Well, okay, but is the bishop just buried alive there? Because if you push any of the pawns, then knight is hanging, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, the bishop is in some sort of danger right now. Maybe you're going to do it's going to be some sort of a d6 followed by c5 perhaps, but
Mm.
I do understand that that comes with consequences, especially for my king, right?
Yeah,
But
and
I can see something like that
of
happening.
course, it goes both ways, and that's why Javahir replied with a 5.
Mhm.
But not always symmetry works for black.
In fact, there's not a lot of symmetry in the games that we're seeing right now happening.
Yeah,
Vincent, for example, started with g4, but Magnus replied with knight g6, and we're just going through most of the
interesting.
games that are happening right now in
That's a very
Weissenhaus.
interesting move. So Magnus, maybe for the first time ever, is not trying to develop his queen on first move.
And he's allowing f4. So this is something that
Yeah.
we were discussing, and we were saying that
Hmm.
probably not a good idea to do so.
No.
He doesn't believe like that is true, but we'll let the players think. I'm still looking at the video, and it doesn't seem like Gukesh has played the move. Gukesh
Well,
is still thinking.
Gukesh also likes to think. He's a very classical player.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I don't remember when was last time he played without a second time control. Maybe only Norway chess?
I would say, but did he play Norway chess? Ah, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
He
Yes, he did.
did, but I
I
think
was I
last
was even there.
one,
Yes.
well, they start with 2 hours on the clock, don't they?
It is a
So
long time control,
it
but
is
it
a long,
finishes very quickly. Like once you end up in time trouble, you don't even
yeah.
have
Ah, they don't have increment, right?
up until move 40. After
Yeah,
move 40, you get 10 seconds. So it's a very
yeah,
short increment.
yeah.
Um,
Okay. But with all his preparation being for the classical world championship, I feel like it might be a bit difficult to switch over to completely different format.
Look, nowadays we're living in a very dynamic world. You have to be adapted to switch as a player. You need to be
You
able to
have
play.
to.
We
Yeah.
we used to have a time, maybe not a long time ago, when players were sort of specializing, right? Like you knew, okay, this guy is a player that's specialized in classical. This guy is a player that specialized in short time controls.
Hmm.
Nowadays, you pretty much have to be a very complete player. That's it. No matter
Oh,
who you're talking about, if you want to be at the top for a long time, you need to be a complete player.
yeah, that's what Magnus also said. The world champion needs to be the best in all formats. But Magnus, of course, it's easy for Magnus to say,
Well, I
difficult
mean,
for
I
all
wouldn't
of
say that
us
you have to
mortals.
be a world champion in all formats because there's very few players that can actually be world champions in all
Yeah,
formats. That's why we have three world championships. And maybe, there's a very big point of discussion of getting another one.
yeah,
But,
maybe.
you know, at least be at the top, at least be competitive. You need to be competitive to be considered one of the top players.
Yeah, Karokan, I think, is correct. Last year only Prague played.
Two
Gukesh
years
played
ago, he
the
did
year
for sure.
before, yeah.
Yes, because I was there with Fabi, and I remember Fabi playing against Gukesh.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, he played few times. It's just not the last year.
and again, look, he has all the ingredients of being a very good player, and maybe a very good and long-lasting world champion. Only time will tell in that regard. But he is, at least the intangibles, he definitely has them. The fighting spirit, the
Mhm.
resilience,
Yeah, for
not giving
sure.
up at any time, the confidence, he definitely has it. So, and the poise. I mean, he's a very poised player. I would say this is one of his big attributes. He never gets shattered. His confidence doesn't seem to get shattered at any time, and he stays calm.
Look, knight b6. Preemptive measure?
Allowing f4 again. We've been talking about
Or
this, and
he's
we're
going for b2 square.
imagine he actually goes for this
He goes for it, and
ice
Hikaru
course.
will be like, boom,
What are
castle.
you doing, dude? You're not checkmating me.
This could be a big surprise if you actually do forget that this is a possible move.
Well, the thing is, if you do go f4, you also have queen d4. So even if you don't see that, you might be thinking, but queen d4 happens. But then you go f5, never mind. I mean, f5 and then c5 with the tempo, everything
Yeah,
comes with the tempo.
maybe this is actually worse than just cold long castle.
Oh, I'm seeing some really, really interesting tactics. For example, if you go something like g5, right? c5, queen c3, it's the only place
Yeah,
um, to
and
defend from. And now I was thinking something else. I was thinking e5 first.
well,
And if you take, now c5.
now c5
And then
and
bishop takes c5,
wow,
and everything is by force. You lose on
that's
b2.
that's a nice miniature.
Yes, and it's over. So I guess after e5, you have to go queen c3 yourself, but then I just simply take on f4. Yeah, this seems to be, if you come out with the queen early on like that, that would be a pretty bad omen for your position.
Yeah. But now I guess Hikaru can just go for 4.
I think f4 is the right one. Again, we've been chatting. After knight c4, knight a4, the easiest and the best response is to just castle.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I I don't think he's gonna fall for it, but it's something that you could be forgetting about, right? Like we did.
Or the idea is to prevent the problems with the bishop on b8 being stuck. And he wants to, if f4 play, maybe c5 immediately, and then maybe not even d6, maybe even something else. Maybe c6 is safer, not sure. But then at least he has bishop c7 and the knight is protected, and yeah, nice little hideout for the king.
Yeah. I think I'm just actually going to start targeting your pieces. And I'm going
Yeah,
to
I
try to
feel
do
like
it very
this
quickly.
position can very easily become like be called better for white from the opening, even though the engine doesn't think so yet. I feel like it's so difficult for a human to play.
Yes. And this is something that we forget. They don't have access to an engine. They don't see everything that we see. They don't see everything that you guys see at home. So it's very easy to go wrong. It's very, very easy to go wrong. F4. By the way, I have a question for you. You've been around for a while. You've been kind of seeing this transition between players that have been looking at chess with an engine and then players that grew up not looking at chess with an engine. Do you feel like there's a difference when it comes to recognizing the best path forward? Basically, just somehow getting better at chess slowly. Like, do you feel like looking at chess with an engine from an early age is helpful or not? Because you were able to spot the best engine moves easier. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, it's very hard. Maybe it's even too early to say. I don't think we have enough data to compare. Like there are these debates whether Fischer would be the best in the world in modern era, whether Tal would be the best in the world in modern era, or all of the openings knowledge, the ability to just outsource all the work on chess to someone else and then just memorize it all, whether it would kill their talent or only multiply it. That we will never know, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. But I think still having the ability to think on your own and apply um, fundamentals of chess without using the computer is very important. And I actually asked very similar question to Gukesh at the end of the World Championship, and he said that he worked a lot without the engine at the beginning, and that's what he recommends to everyone who starts to play chess professionally, to work on chess without engine for as long as possible.
Yeah, this seems to be the case. I mean, well, at least for Gukesh, I know that he worked without an engine all the way to 2500, all the way to GM level. At least this is what the rumors are. Obviously, nobody can know outside of himself, his coaches, and his parents. But
Hmm.
yes, it does seem like the rumors are that he worked without an engine with the help of what's I'm trying to remember Ramesh with the help of his coach, I believe is Ramesh.
Ramesh, yeah.
Yes, without an engine. Like
Hmm.
Ramesh had the engine and he was guiding him when necessary, but everything that he was doing without an engine.
Yeah, and Ramesh is one of those players who grew up without engine himself, so he knows all the benefits. And I guess that's the most precise way to be guided, so that you sort of know the direction, but you know that direction through someone else. So there is still a human explanation. Why is this and that? Because the biggest problem, the biggest mistake is to study with computer and trust it, but you don't know the reason why this
You know
and
what the
that
problem is
works.
with that though? A
What?
lot of the new lines, a lot of the new theory that's being developed, it somehow looks nonsensical at times, and it's
Hmm.
just about memorization. Not everything is about
True,
memorization, but a
true,
lot of the
but
lines they just simply don't look like normal what we've been taught chess. They
no, not
look
at
like
all.
just
Yeah.
engine chess, right? And then like how do you explain that in a logical sense? Okay, sure, there's explanations, but our minds don't necessarily work in that way. So
No,
then you just
that's
have to
true.
memorize.
That's true. But my coach told me if you don't understand these lines, maybe just don't play that opening yet. Until you are at a level where it really doesn't matter where you don't whether you understand the concrete line or not, just find another opening that works for you. Until certain level, these openings don't even matter at all. But then I guess you need to start adding them, but like blindly going for just memorizing is only going to clutter your brain with completely useless information because you cannot apply it.
Mhm. Boom, we have a move. F5. Gukesh gets aggressive, but I'm not sure I'm a big fan of this move, F5. Obviously, I think right now Hikaru has a great menu of options, and one of them being just simply taking on F5. You take back, I would assume. You don't really have, generally, we've seen positions in which you could be taking with a couple of pieces. At least you could be, let's say, having your knight already on d6 or h6 and take next move with a knight. But now you have to get the rook out, and that's going to be a target. I'm going to go c3. Boom. I'm targeting that. You have to move
Yeah,
back. I
immediately.
don't think you want to hang
No,
around
no, probably go
on the
back.
fifth rank. I think you just want to go back.
Hmm.
And now I just castle. Like, I've gained a lot of tempis in this whole sequence. Like, how do you continue your development? Now the knight, I'm not sure you can put it there. I go f5.
That's the problem. Somehow, wherever black tries to develop, the evil just goes down. I don't know why the engine says it's equal. I just don't see how to keep it equal.
By the way, Hikaru is thinking right now, trying to ponder his options. We think that he's already slightly better, but we do have a confession from one of the semifinals, Fabiano versus Sindarov, Hikaru's former opponent. Fabiano has a confession for us. Maybe we can listen to that and see what he said.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think this is one of the more interesting starting positions we've had so far. And all the games kind of went in different direction because White's first move was very unclear. When we were discussing before the game, we didn't actually understand like how White should be approaching this position. That's why you saw like Hikaru and Vincent, they went for g4, Noterbeck went for some f4 c3 plan, and then I was just thinking over the board and went for something that we didn't discuss at all, which was to play f3. I just felt like maybe pawn on f4 and f5 is kind of weak because the bishop's on b1, then knight g3 starts to attack it, maybe wins some time to develop. And I think this move g4 that two guys chose, it doesn't look like a good move to me. I didn't really like it when they were suggesting it, and Vincent seemed to think that it was maybe a good option, but I don't know, like it really weakens this diagonal and you take out kingside castling entirely, which I started to think that maybe kingside castling is not, like if I can play knight g3, I win a tempo on the f5 pawn, then at some point maybe my bishop moves, my queen moves, like my queen is developing very quickly, and then I'm ready to castle short at some point. So it's not so impossible to castle short, and that's why I'm not sure like playing g4 and completely getting rid of this option is the right approach. So I don't know, like Gukesh chose knight b6, Magnus chose knight g6, it's kind of funny. Everyone is choosing a different approach. But I thought maybe the pawn in f3 is a bit better. Because like on f4, I don't know, maybe it's a weakness. And okay, Sindarov chose f5, which is logical, and I play c4, and my idea is maybe to play knight g3 next. If f4, then my knight goes to e4, where it looks very nicely placed. And if otherwise, he has to spend some time to defend the f5 pawn, either g6, let's say. But g6 is a bit of a waste of time, you know. I kind of gain like a bit of a time there. Or bishop g6, but that feels really awkward. Like the bishop Okay, maybe it's not bad to put the bishop there. It's hard to say, but yeah, this is definitely an interesting one, and hopefully I chose a good approach.
Layers and layers.
Yeah, very interesting confession by Fabi, sort of trying to understand his train of thought and where he believes the best placement for the pieces is. And he kind of showed us. He says G4, in his opinion, was not necessarily a great move, or at least
Yeah.
he doesn't see it as such, because he harbors some hopes at potentially castling on the short side, and also seems to believe that this diagonal might be getting weak, the b8 h2 diagonal, as well as the a8 h1 diagonal. So that's why he chose f3. He's trying to stay more compact. f5, and now after c4, this is what he chose. He's going to target this pawn on f5, and he wants to provoke the move g6 so that this knight on h8 doesn't have any good squares, any optimal squares in the next few games. And that's why Sindarov immediately responded with knight to b6, starting his own attack against the pawn on c4. My guess is that based on his train of thought and what he's been discussing, I think he's going to be going for either c5 or b3 at this point. But he doesn't seem to want to close the knight, as we've seen with g6. So I think he's going to gravitate towards c5.
Yeah, this game potentially can become very sharp very quickly, because now that c4 and f5 was played, it means Fabiano is likely going to go for a kingside castle, while Sindarov will most likely have to resort to queenside castle. So opposite side castles, advanced pawns with c5. This will be an interesting game to definitely keep an eye on.
It could turn into a sharp one. That's for sure. And c5 knight a4, you might be thinking, hey, but how do I defend this pawn on b2? You don't even have to. Now that the king can go to c2, you can just allow the check, king to c2, and now the knight is completely trapped.
Suddenly the
So
knight is trapped. That's funny.
it's over. Yeah,
But
it's
what
over.
if g6? Can you actually save the knight on a1? I guess rook c3, right? And black doesn't have a bishop to immediately attack.
Oh, you mean queen to g7
Oh,
at
you
this
have
point, or
d4.
yeah,
The queen is
d4, rook
developed
c3.
as well.
Everything works. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So it's after knight to b6 is a big moment, and I do think that after some thinking, the way I know Fabi, I don't think he's going to go shy with b3. I think he's just going to go c5.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, his explanation is very like it goes deeper than just three moves. How we patsers think like, oh, let's attack a7, let's attack b7, nice, let's just push the pawns. But he's thinking about the future. What do I do with my monarch? What do I do with my queen? What do I do with that knight, with this knight? And thinks about the weak diagonals in advance.
Yeah. No, he definitely had a much larger horizon than us, right? We were thinking, okay, it does seem like everybody's just simply going to castle, long or short, however you want to say. But it seems like the king is going to land on c1. He's thinking in a completely different way, right? He's thinking keeping things tight, not creating any weaknesses. A very interesting way of handling this position.
Mm-hmm. Seems like
And
there
of course,
was.
c5 was played. Yeah, yeah. Well, when Fabi will see this type of opportunities to develop with tempo like this and put immediate pressure on his opponent's pieces, he's going to take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. And not clear what to do with this knight immediately.
The knight is going to go to the center. The knight is going to go to the centers, and Sindarov knows it. Sindarov already played it. And again, I'm not saying that Black's position is bad. By any means, Black's position is perfectly fine at this point. But Fabi is feeling good about his chances, and I'm sure Sindarov is inviting the fight also.
Yeah, definitely.
And this
Seems
is
like
going to be a fight.
there was maybe some commotion in the playing hall, because both Hikaru and Gukesh looked to the side at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Maybe they
But
were maybe they can hear the confession.
hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's too late for Hikaru. He already, according to Fabi, um, yeah, destroyed the chances for short side castle or long side, not sure, kick side.
Yes.
But I'm sure he is happy with his position. Or
Yes.
I don't know if he actually has any feelings for this position or this game.
He's spending some time. So
Yeah,
look,
he just took on a 5.
I think he believes that chess 960 freestyle chess feature random is going to be here to stay. You might as well be, first of all, if you check the prices, there's some significant difference
Yeah.
between the prices, right? If you look at fifth, that's $50,000. Sixth is $40,000. Seventh, I mean, again, you could be playing for $30,000
Mm-hmm.
because right now this is the competition for places between fifth and eighth. Fifth is $50,000. Eighth is $20,000. There's still a lot to play for the next
No, of
4
course, of
days.
course. It's not only the money, it's prestige, it's simply professional approach to playing. Like he's invited, he accepted invitation. So whatever was the feelings after the game, it was just emotions. And of course, he's not going to just throw or come without like a mood to play or to give his best to the game.
Of
But
course not.
also it can affect invitations in the future, so that's also important. Whether he
It's
will
crucial.
accept or
Yes, yes.
not, it's a different story. But you don't want to burn your chances, burn the bridges with such organizer.
No, absolutely, absolutely not. And again, it's about competition as well. Everybody there is a big competitor. You don't get to that level if you don't compete for absolutely everything. And
Mhm.
this is exactly what we're seeing from everybody. Even the fight for ninth place between Aronian and Fedosev, that
That
was
that was
a
quite
very
exciting.
competitive affair as well.
Yeah, I was a bit FOMO that we missed it, but uh, you guys had a chance probably to come back and see some of the moves. It was really good.
Yeah, yeah. So we have Rook f5. Hikaru did take on f5. Rook takes f5, and now we're thinking about c3.
Hmm.
C3, we've been trying to get this bishop out
Yeah,
via
makes a
either
lot of
this
sense.
diagonal, but mostly via this diagonal, right?
I mean,
Hitting
e4
that
is probably also an
diagonal.
option, but e4 does not develop any.
Are you sure it's an option, Maria?
Okay, I guess not. We're suddenly checkmated. Oops. Did I get myself checkmated? What is it called? Fool's mate, right?
I think so. I
Fool's
think
mate, but
so.
when the king is on e1, you play g4, f3?
I think so.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
that's
Sorry.
kind of embarrassing. Oops.
F4 and G4. Yes, F4 and G4. Yeah,
Well,
no.
yeah, usually the knight is on g1. Like, the brain just doesn't click. It's fine. It should be fine, right?
Yep. Yeah, yeah. It is a nice pattern.
That would
It
be
is
a
a nice
very
pattern.
short game.
Somewhat unexpected, but I'm sure it can happen, and it has probably happened for a lot of people. Yeah, 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 yeah. No.
Yeah,
E4,
okay, c3
not
is
possible.
better. Yeah,
C3
he
has to
just
be
played
played.
it.
He played it, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's not going to play E4. Maybe in Blitz. In Blitz in
In
Freestyle
Blitz, a
Fridays,
lot of things like that happened. Yeah,
guaranteed. Yes.
I've seen
Guaranteed.
mates where the knight took on b7. The player just did not notice that there was a mate.
Guaranteed. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. C3. Okay. I'm liking it. And now you can actually play E4 if you really want to. You probably don't because you don't want to get your king to C2, but at least you're never in danger to get mated anymore.
Are we building a boat again? d4, e4.
Where's the boat?
It's kind of upside down.
No, I think the
Just
boat would be
sank.
D3, E3, C4, right?
Or it's sank already. before it even was built.
And if you want to build an even bigger boat, you would go
Banana.
D3, C3, B3, and then A4. And it would be this nice little boat right
And then
here.
knight c2, knight f2. This looks like a cow opening.
A cow opening. Okay. Okay.
It is kind of broken, true.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I like it.
Mhm.
I think Hikaru is taking the bull by its horns in this one. He's posing problems as fast as move. What is this? Move 4? Yeah, move 4.
Looks like our camera froze. I mean, not the players. Oh yeah, I think there is some lost packages on the camera side.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at the other bracket fight in the bracket between in the bracket for 5th to 8th place, and that is Abdu Satoru versus Ali Reza. Actually, just before we go to there, it seems
Yeah,
like a
Rook
move has
f8
been
played.
played. Rook f8. Now I'm sure Hikaru will be thinking for a little while. What's happening in this? Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Excuse me? What have we just walked into?
We're pretty far in this one. Okay, this is Abdu
Ah,
Satoru
that was
versus
en passant,
Firuja.
okay.
We got an Abasan. Okay.
A little information sign.
What did we walk into? C3, C6, castle, knight to G6. Strange little move allowing F5. Okay. Knight F4.
Yeah, knight f4 is very ambitious.
Ali Reza is freestyling. He's enjoying himself. Knight G3, E5, F takes C6. This is what we have. That's a strange development in the opening. That is truly a strange
I
development
guess
in the
he's
opening.
gonna take with a knight, or what's the plan?
I believe you have to take with the knight. Well, you don't have to take, but if you take with the queen, it just doesn't look right. You're giving me too many
No,
squares. And if you take with the pawn, you just resign on the spot after rook takes f4.
but bishop and then queen there.
Yeah, queen d4, knight d5, and I think e4 just finishes. Well, finishes. I will get
C5.
2 pieces for c5.
You
Maybe I can
take,
even
right?
take. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It's not looking good. So you probably just have to take with the knight. I think Ali Reza probably understands that. But if you do that, okay, I go knight a5 maybe. Castle. Bishop to f2, bishop c7. Oh, sorry, not king. c7, bishop c7. And then I bring the other knight to f5. Doesn't it feel like I'm having all the fun in this position?
Definitely the knights are having all the fun.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, this knight is ready to jump. This knight, maybe I will be looking at that square. Perhaps bishop to g3 ideas. It's looking very active for white, right?
Yeah, maybe white even has ideas with c4, c5, knight d6. Okay, well,
Pay
that would be
attention. Pay attention to knight
very
e7.
yeah, very convenient.
We've been talking about the knights having fun. There you have it.
Wait a minute, but black also has knight f4. Where do we end up if we do this? Knight f4?
You want to go into the... Well, I don't think I'm going to go knight e7. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be... Because you take a pawn. You take a pawn on e2. So you're going to be a pawn up at the end of it.
But it's a
Yeah.
fun position.
It is a fun position. It is a fun position. So this one, I mean, you can expect it between Nodirbek and Ali Reza.
Yeah,
Right?
no, if anybody can produce something like this, it's these two.
They're ready to have some fun. And Hikaru did play a move. And a
Fine.
quick one at that. F5. He takes the space. He's in the mood to play with the space today.
Wow.
What do you think
Yeah.
about this move?
Well, I suppose he's gonna add. Oh wait, not e4. I'm still tempted to play e4.
Sure.
Not yet. No, maybe
uh,
knight g3 first, then e4.
So what should black do?
Well, I want to develop pieces, but I also don't really see how. What about bishop h5? But then knight g3. That's
Knight
the
g3, yeah,
problem.
yeah.
We cannot prevent e4.
No, no. And again, e4 is probably going to happen.
Yeah,
I
and the 5 actually also covers the king from potential checks from g6 or h7.
Yes. Yes.
So maybe black has to play g6 eventually.
It seems like g6 is the right approach, right? Like, look, you've overextended. I might as well try to start picking at those pawns.
Yeah,
Well, at this
and
pawn.
trading pieces, I guess, for black means closer to equality, more pawns out of the center.
Well, if you think
That
about it,
pawn is, yeah.
white played with his pawns mostly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black already has a piece developed.
Yeah,
If you exchange the pawns that have been played with, it just means that I'm going to have a lead in development because I got my pieces out, you got your pawns out, more or less, right? So g6 makes a lot of logical sense.
yeah, true. And also after taking on g6, for example, with bishop,
Oh,
black is
if I
saying
take, yeah,
black is saying I developed two pieces. And if white says, okay, but I can take one, then they bring another one.
exactly.
So it's still two pieces.
You have a lead in development right now. You have a
Yeah.
nice lead, and I think black is just better.
And a2 is hanging as well.
Yes, knight to b3, probably just castle, castle, and I'm the first one that brings everything with tempo in the
Yeah, this
position.
is definitely in black's favor.
Yeah. So Hikaru after g6, which we do believe might be the best move, he needs to be focused on just getting his pieces out. Knight to b3, for example, makes a lot of sense to me.
And then if black does take on f5,
Then I take on g8 once.
take, you, I guess, yeah, you can take
You know
on
what? I'll set up a trap. We've been talking about
e6.
development. You can play e6, but then knight takes f5. That's my trap.
Whoops.
That is my trap. I'm trying to checkmate the king like this.
This is a bit easier to blunder.
It is, it is, it is, it is. And but yes, after knight g3, this is kind of the idea, right? We're trying to get the pieces out, and it does seem like the knights in this particular position, they play a very important role. We've sort of underestimated the impact of the knights. We've been playing with the bishops, bishop takes f5, but if you get the knights either to a5, c5, f5, they seem to be coming at you from both sides, right? It's difficult to handle that.
Yeah, definitely a lot of unusual patterns. Lots of them, in fact, in one setup.
Yes. This is a tournament that has two reigning world champions in it. Magnus, obviously the co-champion. In fact,
Three
world
We have
champions.
3 world champions.
Yes, three world champions, three reigning world champions. Hikaru is one of them, the reigning chess 960 world champion from Iceland 2 years ago. Gukesh, classical, they're facing against each other right now. And Magnus, a co-champion. Do you consider a co-championships as being less than a sole championship? I don't even know how
Yes,
to look
at
at
least by half.
that. At least by half, yeah.
At least by half.
So is he a
Yeah.
half world champion? I
Half a
don't know.
champion, yeah, it's
It's a bit of a strange
Hmm.
strange thing to think about. Co-champion.
Yeah, well, but okay, let's just face it. Organizing a world championship between Christmas and New Year is a stupid idea to start with. And okay, it was kind of working the previous years, but to have the final on the New Year's Eve in New York is just plain ridiculous.
Why is that?
Because nobody wants to work. Like when Magnus suggested it, it was obvious everybody will say, please, yes, I want to get drunk and celebrate. You have a bunch of Russians organizing it, and they have like parties planned. Like, okay, I will be the one who says it. Okay, throw all the stones at me, but nobody wants to work. And nobody is paid to work that long. Like if they continue playing never-ending tiebreak, which has no end if they just continue drawing. This was also a huge oversight.
Yeah, I don't
So
think that would ever happen. I don't buy that we will play infinite games. I think that match would have ended very quickly, in fact. It was getting very close to somebody making a
I think
mistake.
Nepo just shouldn't have accepted this. I know it
Perhaps,
was
yeah.
very tempting. He tried to become a Blitz World Champion for so long, and he was so close so many times. I've seen how how frustrated he was starting from like 2016 when he was
Mhm.
very close. So
Mhm.
he really wanted that, even if it's half a piece of pie, he wanted it. But I think Magnus offered because he was afraid he's gonna lose.
Absolutely. No, and he said that himself in the
Oh, he
interview.
did. Ah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. He said that was one of the reasons he just didn't want to live there without the world championship. So there was definitely an element of a fear, yeah, to
Yeah, I
it.
think if Nepo declined and even if he ended up losing, I think a lot of people would really appreciate him more as a player after that.
Mm, mm. It's a tempting offer.
Very
Yeah,
tempting. Like Magnus was
it's
supposed to play white, but
no, it was
yeah,
it was yes, you're right. He was supposed to play white, and I think this is why he offered it as well
yeah. Otherwise, it's
because
kind of yeah. You're to play black. You cannot really do that. But yeah, well, it's
Magnus
hard
can
to
do it.
blame.
It would still be very tempting.
Maybe,
It would still be
maybe.
tempting. Yeah, no, in the heat of the battle, with a world championship in your hands, even if it's a co-world championship title in your hands, yeah, yeah, I don't fault Nepo necessarily for accepting. I understand that
Mhm.
probably he has second thoughts right now, but you know, yeah, I'm mostly blaming the one that offered, and that is
Yeah,
Magnus.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like he's built this recognition, of course, himself. We are not denying all of the achievements of Magnus, but he did put everyone in almost stalemate situation by offering because there is no good outcome from this.
Yeah, yeah, and G6 was played
Yeah, back to chess.
after back to freestyle chess. Yes, yes. But yes,
We
G6
just
was played.
freestyled away from from two world champions playing in front of us to other two world champions.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And yeah, there's so many parties to be faulted at that point, but in the end, it is what it is. And both of these players are world champions. And we will never know who would have been the real world champion if they would have played. Only speculation. G6. How do we continue this one? Do we give this knight a job right now? Cover this diagonal and not have to worry about
Mhm.
this pawn on a2 anymore with knight b3?
And if bishop f7,
I think I will sacrifice that.
but with a check,
What
are you
if I
good at
just castle?
castling?
You know what? What if I just castle? Do you actually take that? I guess you do.
And bishop c2, or do you
C2
take on
probably
g6?
you just go to a2.
Do you just go to g6 then?
I think I have some problems defending this b2 pawn.
Yeah, exactly.
This might, in fact, be quite problematic. Like you take, maybe take.
Maybe you don't even take there. You just, yeah, take f1 and then knight.
And the
Oh,
funny
then
part is that,
f8 is, then you can get checkmated if you don't castle.
but it doesn't give the checkmate because the queen is defending.
No, I meant our queen on f1 if we trade.
Yes.
Yeah, here you have to castle. Well, you can take on g6, yeah. Or
But
do
then you
you?
take,
Bishop
right?
g6 and checkmate?
Yeah, I have to castle first, and then you just simply go bishop
Yeah.
b1. Lots of tactics.
Yeah, crazy position.
Lots of tactics. So in this position, apparently you have to give a check first, force the bishop to go to b1. Now it's tight, it's pinned, and now you just simply take. And you're better. Black is just better right now.
Yeah, wait, here, black. Yeah, black is better.
Black is
Still a
completely
lot of
better.
things to consider, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So g6. Hikaru thinking. But I do like knight to b3. And let's say this bishop f7 makes a lot of sense. We've said short castle, long castle, whatever you want to call it, doesn't seem to
We
be
need to
very
find a
good.
way to call it. It's just so confusing.
I think
Left,
perhaps
right.
just
Can we
left.
just say
Yeah,
left, right?
I think so. I think it's, but then it gets a bit confusing.
I guess it's
I
still
guess
left,
no,
right? It's
no,
still
left,
left.
right.
Well, it depends for whom you're commentating, right? Like if you are
From which
turning the
side you're
board
looking?
from
Yeah,
black side.
you cannot flip the board if you do that.
Chat, what is easier for you? Like how like what is understandable? Like if we say short castle, do you even understand what it means? To the left, to the left.
I think that's easy. Yeah.
Castle to c1 or castle to g1. We can also say it like that.
I like the left and the right. I do like the left and right. I think you're right on that.
King side, queen side. But then if the king is on d1 and queen is on g1, which one is queen side? I'm now even more confused.
That gets a bit confusing. Yeah. Now we have to implement rules of regular chess, right? Okay, this is the queen side in regular chess, so we should be having the same dialect.
King side left, but king side is right. Unless you're with black. With black, it's left.
No flipping the board. No flipping the board.
Okay, so king side and queen side. So we just keep saying so currently king is on the queen side, right? And queen is on the king side.
Yeah.
All right, so castle queen side would be the long one, which is currently very short. Ah, thank you, Bobby Fischer. Thank you for this. There is no good answer, exactly.
I think we should, yeah, we leave it free flowing. It's flexible.
We can say
Let's
castle
keep
to
it flexible.
c1 or castle to g1. Does that work?
Just like the rules in Weissenhaus, I think we should keep it flexible.
Or we can say left, right, just go from where we are commentating. If we are commentating for white, then queen side is left and king side is right.
Yeah.
Over here, and you just show over there.
I can do that.
All right, we'll figure it out eventually, I guess. Hopefully, just don't castle, maybe. We need to tell them to not to castle.
Okay. What do we do? Okay, let's you know what? Since Hikaru is taking some time here,
Mhm,
and we've been
mhm.
going through most of the lines that we were considering, especially
C7.
starting with knight to b3. Let's look at this Nodirbeck.
Fabiano is actually heating up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll go to that in just a second. So we left it off after knight takes e6, knight f5, question mark, but don't worry too much about the question mark. I think it looks very natural.
Yep.
Bishop g6 and bishop f2. Okay. Looking at the knight on b6, bishop c7. And this is what we have right now. Knight to a5. We've been, in fact, oh, wait a minute. If you go knight a5, you don't have castle anymore because of knight e7.
Whoops.
So you're not in time to castle. Which means that you're forced to go rook b8. There's no other move at this point. And this might spell trouble with the king still in the center like this. I mean, I understand. Perhaps he's taking a page out of what Fabiano said. And he just wants to go queen f7 and then castle the
yeah,
other side.
castle to the right.
Which would, in fact, help the rook on b8 as well. But that's the only way. If you're forced to keep the king in the center like this, then you're in big trouble. So, yeah,
And
I think knight a5 is looking good for white.
And if white manages to play bishop c5, well, if the rook is on b8, for example, bishop c5, queen, what is
Maybe queen
that?
f7. Queen
Knight
f7, you want to go knight
d6.
d6, right?
Maybe it's not that good.
No, I like it.
Needs to be considered, maybe.
I like it. I think it's very decent after knight d6. I mean, I have
will
some
be very-
defenses, but
Yeah, so black cannot castle anymore.
I don't like it too much for black. No. So it's definitely something to be considered. Maybe rook to e8 and saying that there's no more castling. But at least you gave up your dark square bishop. And I do have the two bishops right now as black. So I have some compensation.
Oh, Magnus Confessional. Of course. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Do we have it? Whoops.
We're being
Maybe it was
teased
not.
by Jaren.
Just joking. Maybe.
This starting position feels miles more dangerous for black than any of those we've seen in the last couple of days. I really didn't like my first move, knight g6. The idea was if he follows up with a natural pawn push f4, then I can go from the other side c5, and if he then goes for f5, I get the knight on e5, which is quite a typical theme in freestyle, getting that knight established, and then later on I can go f6, opening up for my queen and so on. But I was really worried after knight g6, what if he goes d4 and taking away that square? I didn't really see anything big. Knight b3, as he played, is also very dangerous for me. I didn't love any of my options there. The one that I chose, e5, looks quite dicey, but if I can get f6 opening up for the queen on the next move, I think if he possible knight jumps can be met with castling, he can attack my pawn again with his queen, but I think I have a couple of decent ways to defend then, but I don't know. It feels like it's a fight for survival now from the very first moves. If I can get if I have a playable position in 5 moves, I'll be very happy, and I think I'll be in good shape. But honestly, at this point, it doesn't feel certain that I'm gonna get there. But we'll see.
Wow, a fight for survival from move number.
Yeah, it does seem like he was having some difficulties trying to understand this position, and he didn't feel very comfortable with his choices. Especially, he was mentioning this knight to g6 as being the culprit of some of his problems, at least the perceived problems that he has. And he really thought that knight g6 would be met by d4, with the idea that I'm taking away all of these squares from you. And he didn't see a good way to develop his pieces. My guess is that he was worried about f5, just simply take, and now c4. The same type of plans that we've been seeing with the opening of this bishop. Didn't feel very comfortable with his position. But in the end, after knight b3, e5, f6, he's trying to create this construction after castle with the bishop on f7. He's trying to get out, maybe d5 at the right moment. He's worried about the knight. This is my take. He's worried about the knight on a8 because c5 is going to come, and that could potentially spell trouble for that knight. But he seems to believe that, and perhaps for a good reason, that if he manages to survive for the next 5 moves or so, then he will be just fine. He has a compact pawn structure and compact position, but he could get in trouble if Vincent decides to take an active approach. What was your read on his confession?
Yeah, I do echo what Magnus said about this position. I did feel like out of all that we had so far in this tournament, this one seems the most maybe how to say the potential there for white to grab initiative very quickly is huge. And I also agree with what Fabi said, but maybe it's not that important what disadvantages you will get later, like weak diagonal and not being able to castle. But like if you go with the initiative and go all in, it might be just enough. But of course, when it's a classical game and you are not really playing someone weak, you have to consider their, like you cannot be so sure. You only have what 10 minutes to analyze. So Fabi goes with a maybe a bit safer approach, while I mean Vincent is playing white against one of the best players in the world, the current winner of last year's freestyle chess. So it's a perfect opportunity for Vincent just to grab to seize this opportunity.
And going back to Hikaru's game, because I do believe that he just made a move, and he did play knight b3, the move that we were anticipating. And we were discussing all this, like g takes f5, entering the endgame after queen takes g8, the exchange of the queens. It does seem like white is maintaining an edge. I don't know if it's a big edge, but there's definitely something to work with. And the players seem to be thinking in very similar lines as we are. I don't think Gukesh is going to take on f5 and invite the endgame. I do believe that he wants to keep more pieces on the board and keep it more dynamic. But we shall wait and see how he decides to continue. Maria, I think it's that time when we take our first break. And we'll be back with more action, more freestyle chess action in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with coverage of this event, Waisenhaus, the first freestyle chess event of the year, and the fight for 5th place in Hikaru's bracket. Hikaru versus the reigning classical world champion. This is a battle, in fact, of reigning world champions, Hikaru versus Gukesh, and we have quite an action-packed game. Maria?
Yeah, it's oh, actually, I see that Fedesey was being interviewed. That's interesting. Is he analyzing the other games? That's actually pretty funny.
Well, he's probably there in Waisenhaus. They might as well put him to work, right?
Yeah, true. Although
he's there, he's not playing anymore.
Yeah, all the viewers can see his back, which is also pretty funny. Anyway, which game should we look at? Because I think
there's been one move. There's been one move
yeah,
since
one
we
move.
left last left it. After knight b3 in
Yeah,
Hikaru's
bishop
game,
f7.
bishop f7 was played. We sort of anticipated this one as well. And
Yeah,
we
for
were,
both black and for white.
yeah. And of course, white can take on g6 right now, but probably what Hikaru wants to do is keep the tension
Mm-hmm.
in the position, keep the tension between these two pawns. If you want to exchange, sure, you can exchange at any time as black taking on f5, but that's going to mean that you're exchanging on my terms because I will get to exchange the queens. You would have to like sidestep with the rook, which will place the rook probably on a worse square, and then I will be able to target that f5 pawn. So I want to exchange, but I want to exchange on my terms. Bishop f7.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go something like bishop h4. We've been discussing about this bishop h4, and it looks innocuous at first, but then you sort of understand, hey, this is something. This is an annoying pin on this pawn on
Well,
e7.
let's see concrete. So bishop takes b3.
Ah, you do want to take that pawn. You're not worried.
Mm,
Don't tell me you want to take this one as well.
no.
Come on,
Can we
Maria.
go to
Take it.
d5? Is it crazy?
You can go anywhere you want. d5.
Sure, you will invite me to go anywhere I want.
No.
Oh,
No,
rook
because
take.
now you're in trouble.
This is this is a trouble, yeah.
Now
I
you're in
did
big trouble.
underestimate this.
Yes. If you take, unfortunately for you, you cannot take on g6 anymore. And there's a queen f8 sighting in the position. Like you can take, but
we'll lose a piece.
you
So we
lose a
have to
piece.
go all the way back to g8.
Yes. So from here, you can go to g8. But now I'm really starting to consider some f6 ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should be going for it, but okay, what do you do if I go f6?
Pray?
I mean, I guess you can go long castle, but this is some crazy stuff if you allow my pawn on e7
Yeah,
to
rook
survive, right?
e8, only move.
Maybe it actually works, but still, practically you will never go for this, right?
And that knight on f7, then bishop b3. It's
Yeah.
just
Actually,
so bad.
this is just game over.
So bad, chat. Another option is queen g5, maybe, instead of f6.
You mean all the way after
No,
taking?
no. Yeah, there. Yeah,
Like here, queen g5?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it seems like white has a lot of options,
But
right?
maybe f6 is stronger.
f6 is fine. It seems like castle is a very good move as well. It does seem like there is just lingering compensation right now.
Yeah.
The two
Black
bishops.
will have troubles developing pieces, and castle being the only move they can do is probably not a good sign. Actually, castle is not even possible here because of bishop e7.
Yeah. Castle just loses after bishop takes e7. I'm not picking up only the extra pawn that you had, but an exchange as well. No, this is looking encouraging. And guess what? Hikaru played it. He played bishop to h4. Best move in the position, the one that we were anticipating. And Gukesh said, okay, enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's time to exchange the queens. I don't like this x-ray looking at my king. I just want to exchange the queens. Let's make a draw. Let's keep it simple. How far do you think we are from equalizing as black?
I don't know. I just hate this position for black.
You do?
Yeah, I don't know. Something is wrong. Like I feel like there is still some stones.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Underwater stones.
Tell me why. Why do you hate
Okay,
it?
so let's say queen c5. Am I tripping? I want to keep the queens.
Certainly not.
Knight g6, okay. Bishop g5.
Yeah. Bishop g5. Okay, let's say I don't take your pawn. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I don't want to. I don't really want to.
We'll bring the knight. Knight g3.
Knight g3. Now I'm
I
fine with
guess.
taking.
Yeah, you can actually take both knights with your bishops.
Yes. Yes, I can even do this.
Are you
Take,
taking on
take,
b3 as well?
and
Okay.
take.
Bishop c2.
But I'm
I
how many pawns up?
suppose
I'm 2
we
pawns
will.
up, right? Yeah, 2
Is
pawns
it
up
2?
should be
Well,
be enough, right? You can take one of them.
I can take on f5, right? I can take rook f5. Or is
Not
it
right
too
now.
dangerous?
Not right now. But
No? Ah, right, it's a mate.
I take on c5. But you can take on c4 first. Actually, you cannot, because if you take on c4, I take, and then I threaten the b2 as well.
Okay, okay. You prove your point.
So it does seem it does seem like maybe it's not enough.
Maybe.
Let's just exchange queens. Let's do it, Maria. Let's
Okay,
take the
let's
queens off the board.
exchange. Okay.
I will take with the bishop.
And we take on f5.
Either that or now I guess you can go knight g3. So I don't see a good way for you to defend.
Well, I want to take with the bishop.
You
on
want to take with the
f5.
bishop on f5. Ah, I
And
see
then you
what
cannot castle. Or can you? No, you can.
I cannot.
Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, you cannot.
I still cannot. This pawn on e7 is very annoying.
Yeah.
But I guess you can start with knight g6, right?
Yeah, I suppose you can.
Bishop g5. And if you really want to, maybe you can do it right now. Just castle.
Looks like a pleasant position for white, especially with that bishop on b8 being still not developed.
Agreed.
Okay, let's play knight g3.
Good move. Yeah. Develop. Say I go c6. You've been telling me about this bishop. Might as well take your word for it.
Well, now we can play knight c5.
You can, yeah.
I just don't want to trade it. For some reason, I think the knights are better in this position. Although they started in the corner.
Why are you tempting me like this? What is this?
Because b3, and I will run away with the full piece, I think.
You have this other knight. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You see, I got tempted into a losing position. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, everything is just pinned. d6 not possible.
Yeah. No, this is looking good. So this is a good end game. I think this is a Hikaru. Okay, I understand that perhaps is not what he wanted. He wanted to keep the queens on the board. But I don't think there's necessary to shy away from the exchange of the queens right now. Just take on g8, take on f5 with the bishop, and believe it or not, it does seem like there's some pressure.
Yeah, if we look at the black's position, like to simplify it for the chat, and maybe for me as well, because I keep blundering everything today. What is the best piece in the black's position at the moment?
You're asking me?
I'm asking everybody.
Because I don't know.
I don't
Is it
really
a
know
queen?
myself. For
Is
me,
it a
I think
queen?
it is a queen because it has the most freedom. It has the
Yes.
most threats. In fact, it's probably the only good piece.
Yeah.
Okay, right. The bishop has a move, but it's more likely to trade. But like the queen has that threat to take on b3. The queen has potential of back rank checkmates if the rook is away. Has queen g4. Yeah, I think
agree.
queen is the best piece.
I think you're right. Yeah. The queen
While
does seem
white
to be the best piece.
has this really good bishop on h4. The rook on f1 is hitting f5. It's a semi-opened file. Bishop on b1 is pretty strong as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if we trade the queen,
I
they
would love to get to that pawn with my knight.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that's
that's
not
true, but we
happening.
don't have enough time.
Not happening, yeah. And perhaps this is what he's thinking about. This knight to g3.
But then f4.
F4 might be a little bit annoying.
Yeah, because we cannot take it.
You can, but it's not really good after
Bishop
bishop takes
b3 and
b3.
we lose, yeah, we lose the rook.
It's over, yeah. There are some tactics, right? Like take on f4, you can take on e7, and then you take on e7
Ah,
as
yeah,
the
but
queen
I
e3.
guess we just don't take the bishop.
You don't, and you're a full rook up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if we manage to trade the queen and also black, what do they take with? Can they take with the rook?
You
Because if
certainly
they
can.
at least can take the open file,
You certainly can.
but then we are getting to f5 with a knight. Maybe knight g3 is better. Or is it knight g3 and now f4 we can take because the knight is covering g1. Still some tricks.
Not huge tricks, but yes.
Yeah.
It's
I think
still a
still
very
a little bit
playable position.
advantage. A little bit more initiative. Also bishop h7 is a threat.
For white, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, in any variation that we seem to be looking at, it seems like white is half a move ahead, half a step ahead after queen takes g8. So we do believe that queen takes g8 seem to be the best path forward.
Yeah, usually the simple approach is if you can trade the best piece in opponent's position, you are definitely not worsening yours unless there is concrete tactics you are giving up with that trade. But here also, if we do move the queen away, we are giving up a tempo to black.
And he's
But
about
this
to
is to
make a
put it
move.
simply. But if you are a super grandmaster, you of course think a bit slightly differently from this.
Yeah, well, we've got a glimpse into their thinking, and Fabiano thinking in all sorts of like patterns, and oh, this structure is going to be weaker than that structure, and maybe I can castle in a completely different way than everybody's thinking. I mean, it just gives you a glimpse into their thinking and how advanced their thinking is.
Yeah, but also it's possible they don't even share everything that goes through their mind in a confessional. Do you think?
100%, 100%. No, of course not.
Yeah,
they
like
do.
it did seem like both Magnus and Fabiano were very honest, especially Magnus, saying, although it also can sound a little bit, oh, finding excuses. The position was too tough to defend, that's why I lost. But he was pretty honest that the position does seem very tough to defend with black.
Yeah, one thing about Magnus, he tends to be fairly honest, whatever his opinion is, and even when it puts him in not the best light, he's not going to shy away from saying what he believes is true.
Yeah.
So queen takes g8, bishop takes d8, bishop takes g8, and a bishop takes f5. Not the knight d4 that we were maybe considering. Knight to d4, knight to g3 doesn't work because of f4. Bishop takes f5. Okay.
Yeah, knight c5 also was an idea, and not even because of an attack on b7, but also to prevent active move c5.
Can I go c5?
I think so. Hitting the knight, isn't that what they all mentioned? That knights get attacked in this position very easily.
Yeah.
So black can get a little bit of initiative here.
Yeah. And I think knight g3 You've been trying to defend this pawn on h2 for a while. You might as well try to do so right now. How do you continue as black? It's very balanced. You can see it on the bar, 0, 0,
Yeah.
0, 0.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
extremely
activity,
balanced.
piece activity, either activate pieces or develop pieces. The bishop on g8, I think, is already pretty much developed. We don't need to move it in order to develop a rook, because the rook is not in a corner. And I don't really see a better square, to be honest, than it is now on.
No, for the moment, the bishop on g8 looks very
Yeah.
well placed, of course. And to my estimation, also, white's bishops are standing very, very nicely, especially this bishop on h4. It doesn't look like much for the moment, but it does stop black from going long castle or short castle.
Yeah.
Left side castle, because you're losing the pawn on e7. Not only that, you're losing the two rooks, one of the exchanges. So it's not as easy to untangle for black either. Perhaps knight to g6, then I go bishop to g5. This seems to be the square on
But
which
then
I will
bishop
feel quite comfortable.
h6 is already getting on our nerves.
Oh yeah, no, I'm feeling quite comfortable with the bishop on g5.
Yeah.
I like this bishop on g5. And then I'm ready to continue my development or finish my development with castle.
It's still like the engine says it's almost equal, but from human perspective, white is better. This
I
is
think
just
so. I think
easier to
so.
play. There is harmony between the pieces.
I think so too. Okay,
There is
so we
zero
have a move.
harmony in black's position.
Knight to
Knight
g6.
Okay. Well, bishop
I,
g5 seems to be both forced and good.
it's a natural move,
It's a
and
perfect move when
doesn't
it's forced
seem.
and
Maybe you
good.
can go to g3, right? But actually, no, never mind. If you go to g3, you lose after e6. Okay, not lose, but you're
Well,
getting
you
into a very passive
lose all the
position.
advantage. Yeah.
For sure, and maybe even more than that.
Yeah, we definitely want to keep the pressure on e7. Plus, bishop h6 is somewhat a threat.
We believe bishop g5 to be the best, right?
And now what do you do? Well, engine comes up, of course, with some crazy moves like bishop e6. I feel like it's never gonna happen.
Bishop g5 was played.
Do you think
Bishop e6 is, yeah, I mean, bishop e6 is very,
I mean, it's
very forced, right?
Okay, the rook is the bishop is currently pinned, right? But knight g3, you'd never want to take that bishop
Probably not.
because now e7, oof, hard to defend.
Yeah. So knight g3, and right now with the rook protected on f1, you're starting to look at bishop takes e6, and that's going to at least double up the pawns and damage the structure for black. So yes, I
Yeah,
think
I don't really like it. If there is another option, I definitely would go for that, but maybe there is none. Well, developing dark squared bishops is still important. Not with the idea to take on h2, of course. There is no time for that.
so. Which way
Although,
do you
if
go?
we do take
C6 or c5? I think this is kind of the discussion that Gukesh is having in his mind.
yeah.
Do I go c5 or
Well,
do I go
c5
c6?
is also preventing knight d4.
Yes. But at the same time, c5, that's a weakness, somewhat of a weakness.
Yeah, but maybe that's what we need to do to get some counterplay. Well, let's try c6.
Should we let Gukesh think for a second?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
we've been looking at this and go back to the semifinals, see what's happening in that. Because I think you did mention that both Magnus and Fabi were having interesting positions. Let's start with Magnus. d4. We left it off at this point. Vincent decided to go d4, strike in the center. knight b5, d5, d6, check, bishop d7, f3, a6, and this is what we have right now. I have to say, Vincent has been impressing in this tournament so far. He really is playing a good event, and he's playing some good freestyle chess.
Yeah, I think it's Peter Leko who spends all the day commentating with Judith Polgar and then brings all of the insights to Vincent on a silver platter.
Yeah.
No, of
Yeah.
course, Vincent is an incredible talent. I remember him from 2018, I think, Isle of Man, where I saw him first time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was already being coached by Leko pretty much full time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just see that chess for him is everything. And he is really working hard. It's not just the talent. And yeah, he had this aura around him that he is gonna be really strong. And okay, it was not a huge rise up like Gukesh or Prague, but maybe it's just a bit slower development because okay, yeah, different continents, different opportunities maybe. Um, Last year for him was incredible. And it's also already second event. He had the full year to prepare, and he probably worked on freestyle chess more than others because he had time.
Yeah. Well, also, you have to be thinking in these terms. I do believe that he just finished his high school or something along those lines. I do know that he was in school still when he was preparing so much in chess and making these strides in every tournament, but he was still going to school compared
Yeah,
to
yeah, that is
the
true.
players that you mentioned, the Indians, who obviously, I do believe they're homeschooled more or less. Like at this point, they're not really going to school, not attending classes too much. Vincent, on the other hand, coming from this western part of the world, school is a bit more
They don't
viewed
care
as a
about
second
chess.
option, let's say, right? And yeah, uh, school principals don't really care about
Yeah, in
chess.
Germany, there are no such schools like Gukesh and Prague. They go to the same school and they were looking
They
through
go through
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, they go there for felicitations mostly.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, Vincent did. I think he finished last year.
He did. He did.
He was actually. It was funny in Weissenhaus last year. He said that he has to go straight to exam after the last round.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and right now with that in the back of his mind, that's over. I think right now he will be making a conscious decision to focus full time on chess. He has the support. Obviously, right now in Weissenhaus, not only freestyle chess is being developed, but I do believe they have started an academy as well for the most talented players, which I'm sure Vincent is taking full advantage of. So there's the foundation that's being built around him to support him throughout his career as well.
Yeah.
Definitely looking like a golden age for German chess, or at least they're trying to build that and match the intensity of Indian chess. Now, let's take a look at what's happening in Fabiano's game, also against Sindarov. And Fabi was the one that was having a very different approach than everybody else. Everybody seems to have kept their king in the center, potentially just castling left side. Fabi, from the get-go, he said, you know what, I might be going on the other side. And that's where
And
he
he
landed.
did.
Yep. So c5, knight d5, this is where we left it. Knight g3, f4, knight e4, c6. Quite an... It's a symmetrical position, isn't it? You have space advantage on this side. I have space advantage on this side. That's a very funny looking position. Queen to
Yeah.
d4.
Strange symmetry, right?
Very strange symmetry. Yes. Queen to a4, bishop g6, bishop f2, short castle or right side castle, b5, take on b5, take on b6, take on b6, queen to b3, and this is what we have right now. This is the position A very awkward looking position. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
even know exactly what's
strange.
happening.
Somehow Sindarov keeps producing these moves that look weird, but they work.
He's good. I think we found that in the last. He was a good pick, by the way, extremely inspired pick. I don't know who made this pick,
Well,
but
he finished as a runner-up in qualifiers after Fedoseev.
okay, okay. Yeah, whoever made that pick and decided to give him the spot, and you know, there's so many good players out there. They could have made a
I think
different decision, but this was a great decision.
final was Fedoseev Nepo, but Nepo is already in the main
He's in the club.
roster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
so
in the club.
he was skipped, and Fedoseev won against Sindarov in semifinal. And in fact, I looked at that game, and apart from one tactical miss, Sindarov was dominating that match. So it's kind of similar to what happened against Hikaru. Hikaru was dominating, but it was just a couple of mistakes that took away the win and then the loss instead of a draw. So yes, I think Sindarov is definitely a good pick because he already proven that he's a very good freestyle chess player.
Great freestyle chess player. I mean, I don't want to say this is his specialty because he's obviously an extremely strong classical chess player as well, but it does seem like his general talent and feeling for the position shines through in this format. We've seen it. We've seen it in his match against Hikaru, but we've also seen it very much in stage one, where he took second place behind Alireza only. So, yeah, no, he's really good. He's really good, and he has a great future ahead of himself.
Yeah.
Queen to b3. I'm seeing ideas of landing that knight in the center, knight to c2, knight to d4, and provoking. I want to provoke you to play c5, because whenever you play c5, this whole diagonal gets a bit more weak. This knight on d5 becomes a target. So I'm hoping that, hey, look, there's a pawn on b6 that I'm attacking. Maybe you want to defend it. Maybe you want to go c5. This would be the dream, because then finally I can get my bishop in. I can build up this beautiful tension on the light squares. I'm starting to
Yeah.
like White's position. The problem for Fabi is that Sindarov doesn't have to do that. He can just defend and keep the pawn on c6, and I think this is the best path forward. Just keep
And
the pawn on c6.
the plan is to play b5 if bishop
Bishop
tries to come
d3.
to c4. Yeah.
I don't think I have to. I don't think I have to. I think I will be okay with you attacking that knight, because with the pawn on c6, I don't have to worry about it as much.
Okay, but we still might put more pressure with knight c3 later, or maybe
Certainly.
knight c2, c4, or before, because the king on g8 actually has no squares.
Can I make a Mickey Mouse move like this? h6. I just want to get
Sure.
ready for bishop f7. I want to match the
What about that
intensity.
knight on h8? What are you planning to do with it?
Maybe on g6. I just don't like this knight g5 always lurking in the back. So that's why I play this move h6.
Yeah, so a bit of shuffling there in the corner, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure yet. Do I go knight f7 followed by knight e5? Do I go bishop f7, knight g6, knight e5, or knight h4? These are my ideas.
Yeah, that might work, although still, of course, light squares are kind of airy a little bit.
Cool. I think we have some moves in Hikaru's
Yeah,
game, so let's
sounds
go
like.
back to that one. Okay, this is what we have. And okay. c5, knight g3, bishop takes g3. So c5 is what we were expecting. Take, bishop to e6 and g4.
Interesting position. Both did not castle yet, right?
Castle.
So what's the idea of black right now? They can poke the bishop, right? Because the rook is still unprotected on f1.
So you would go something like
H5.
h5?
Yeah.
Yeah, h5 is definitely a move. Definitely a move. And I'm trying to understand. Okay, let's say I go king c2 or
Okay.
maybe just castle.
Well,
Let's go castle,
king
right?
c2, it saves one move closer to the center, right? But yeah, okay, doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if I want to have this king.
Maybe better to not to have it with a check or bishop b3 for whatever reason. Okay. If takes.
I cannot really take on g6 very easily because of rook g8, yeah? You have
Yeah.
this shish kebab of bishops on the g file.
And taking on e6 makes more sense maybe because of the double pawns.
And then just rook to g1, pick up the pawn on g4. Yeah, this looks like something. It looks like a bit of a pull. Not fully advantage, but there's something to work with. There's definitely something to work with for Hikaru in this one. Maria, I'm hearing that perhaps now it's a good time to take a short break. And as we enter this endgame, as we get to the top of the hour, it's now time to take a quick break. We'll be back shortly with more action from this bracket and the semifinals. And stay with us. Don't go anywhere. More action is coming up shortly. And we are back. Maria, what was happening during our break? Did you take a look at the games?
Yeah, I did. I was looking at Magnus's position.
Okay.
And yeah, let's maybe jump into that because
why not?
Like, I looked at the engine of eval a couple of moves ago, and it looked equal. But then I saw his body language, and I was like, if Magnus is not happy, I don't think the engine is correct. And sure enough, Chimera exchanges a piece. Now the engine is suddenly saying white is better by +1. Even though, like, it seems like there was no real mistake. I don't know.
Well, I think Magnus understood very correctly that things are not looking good from the get-go, and especially right now. Obviously, he's thinking that this space advantage must account for something. And Vincent is clearly feeling very comfortable with his position right now. Sure, there's a beautiful knight on f4. I understand that there's the king still on d1 that could potentially get endangered if white decides to strike in the center with c5. Like, for example, if you try to go c5, I think I can just take on d5. Or maybe I have to take on d5 to create something because I cannot afford, first of all, obviously, I cannot afford going back with the knight. But even if I take on c5, knight takes c5, this is starting to look extremely dubious for your king on c8 with the c file opened. So the space advantage is very uncomfortable to deal with. What Vincent needs to be careful about is all of these sacrifices if he tries to push too fast. But what he can do is just chill for the moment, improve his position, play it in Magnus style, play something along the lines of queen to e3, maybe even rook c2, hide the king on b1, get the king out of dodge. You have all the time in the world. I don't see black's plan. This is the problem, and I think this is something that Magnus doesn't like dealing with. He will deal with it, but he doesn't like doing so. He just simply doesn't have a plan right now, and no space.
What Magnus does have is more time on the clock.
That's right.
That's his only advantage.
That is right. Yeah. So you mentioned his body posture and the fact that he looks, let's say, a bit annoyed. He's annoyed because he knows he's worse. I'm sure he will continue finding the best moves because, he's Magnus and because he has more time. He knows he needs to keep his time edge right now. But again, we've been talking about it so much. Vincent is playing really good freestyle chess right now. Let's go back to Hikaru, right?
Yep, let's do it.
See exactly what happened during the break in that one as well. I think we left it off after g4,
Mhm.
and we were saying maybe knight e5 or h5 could be two potential ways. Definitely you need to focus on targeting the pawn on g4. Knight e5 was his choice. King c2 and rook to g8.
Yeah, so bishop is hanging. I guess it can go to h4 back.
Yes.
Black has an opportunity to maybe repeat, or do they
How do you
take
repeat?
knight g6?
Oh, knight g6, I go to g3. I think this is beautiful
Oh,
because now I dominate your knight, right?
you don't need that pin anymore because the bishop is defended.
Yes. Yes. And again, it's all about
Also, it's Gukesh. He's not gonna repeat anyway.
you think he wants to win this?
I think he just never repeats.
That's
He
a
only
good point.
repeats when
Yeah.
it's an absolutely forced move.
Yeah, that could be the case. That could be the case. Well, at least against Dink. Against Hikaru, I'm not sure, but against Dink, definitely that's the strategy. Or at least that was the
You think
strategy in
Gukesh will be
Singapore.
more afraid of Hikaru than Ding?
I think during the World Championship match, he had a very specific strategy from the get-go, and that was
To exhaust
um,
him.
exhausting as much as possible. Yeah. And
Yeah.
play as... Look, everybody got a blueprint of what Ding's weaknesses are during the Olympiad. And to be honest, during the whole last year.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody sort of knew exactly what Ding's problems are. And everybody was trying to capitalize on it. These guys are like sharks, right? And when you're preparing for a world championship match, you take into account absolutely everything. You try to get that edge against your opponent in absolutely every facet of the game.
Yeah, it's not the time to be a gentleman there.
No, no gentlemen's in the world championship match. That's for sure.
All right, so after this, I guess bishop 8. Why do I hear myself?
I cannot hear you right now, but I can hear you right now. Yes, I did hear something as well, some echo, but I think you're probably back, or perhaps we're hearing the stream as well. So now I'm hearing myself as an echo also.
You're also hearing yourself.
Yes, I am hearing myself as well, and yeah, it's a bit confusing. Maybe Jaron can help us with that.
I hear like 3 times now. Yeah, it's kind of hard to communicate like this.
So what do you do after bishop to h4? I think we're back. I don't think we have an echo anymore.
I still hear myself as well. Yeah, guys, we will quickly go on a very short break, and we will be back in 1 minute.
We're back, and we're back in full force. Now, bishop takes f5 was Gukesh's move. Obviously, not wanting to have anything to do with bishop takes c6, d takes c6, and the doubling of his pawns on the e file. So taking with the pawn, you're not losing the g4 pawn. And right now, I'm starting to feel like Hikaru is edging his opponent a little bit in the position, because this bishop on h4 is such a good piece, such a powerful piece. It keeps this king from castling. And I'm not 100% sure how exactly you're going to untangle your pieces.
Yeah, certainly this was a move that Hikaru will be happy with. Not only untangling is difficult, but white also has some concrete ideas, like f6 could be annoying,
Yes.
whether black is castled or not. But also castling is a problem because of e7 hanging. He also can bring a second rook. Like rook g1 is
Give
an
me one more
option.
move, I'll go rook g1, yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, he can also play maybe rook f2 and double them. I mean, of course, knight can jump then, right? But who knows? It's a lot
No,
of
I like it.
flexibility.
There's a lot of flexibility in the position. And I think you made a good point. I'm thinking about f6 as being a threat in the position. Like, for example, okay, let's just make a blank move, right? Even rook to c6 to try to say, okay, maybe I can go rook to h6. Don't I have f6? You cannot take because I take with the bishop and you're losing the knight on e5. So if you cannot take, then what's your next move? You obviously cannot go e6. You resign on the spot. That's a discovery attack. So f6 is a big threat right now in the position.
Yeah, indeed. So to tackle this, maybe rook g4 is active enough.
You have to go for it. You have to attack this bishop. And sure, I'm probably not going to go back. I just want to keep that bishop on h4. I really like this bishop on h4. So I'm going to go rook h1. f6 is still a threat in the position. And now I'm getting ready to swing the other rook to either f1 or g1.
Yeah, g1 is also interesting because then after a trade, rook g8 is a threat. And again, king cannot really run away. And maybe the only way will be through e8 to keep defending e7. But then black is missing two moves.
Yes. And king e8 is one of them. Maybe d6, king d7. You need a couple of moves to free up the rook. And I think at the same time, you need to defend the pawn on c5 so that this rook is also not tied to the defense of the c5 pawn. I'm thinking about d6 as being the best move in the position right now.
True, true.
And do we go f6? Do we go for it? Let's go for it, right?
Immediately.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
And the big question is, what if I go e6? What if I go e6? You have f7, but that doesn't lead
I have f7,
anywhere.
but it's probably better to keep it as a threat.
Yes, I agree. So let's go something like rook g1, right?
Or rook f1.
Or rook f1. That's a threat right now. Rook f1, king d7. I have to get out of dodge.
Is our knight on b3 doing anything important? Can we maybe attack on b7?
Yeah, not for the moment. It wasn't. The knight on b3. If you're looking for problem pieces, then the knight on b3 was a problem piece at that point. So it only makes sense that we're going for b7. I'm feeling that white has a significant advantage. Maybe it doesn't feel like that over the board, and perhaps not with the help of the engine, but practically, I don't know, looking at the position, I just feel like white has a great advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of potential threats which Gukesh will have to deal with, and you can pay attention to his posture. Like he's very focused.
He
Even
always looks focused, right?
but even if
He's a
even
very
when it's
intense
not
guy.
his move, he's still like I don't really see him meditating much.
No
Like
meditation.
usually, he's full on focused on the board and calculating all the time.
Yeah, there's a bit of a difference from previous games in which Hikaru generally was ahead on the clock at this part of the game. Right now it is Gukesh who is ahead on the clock, but I have to say the position is definitely playing in Hikaru's hands right now. After this trade on
Nikki, a
f5.
move once Hikaru left the board.
Okay, we're seeing a move. A move has been played. d6.
D6. Yeah, we expected that.
d6 or rook g4, right? Those were the
Yeah,
two moves.
yeah, true. He did not play
Oh,
rook g4,
Hikaru
which is
just
better for us because we can play f6 and rook f6.
Hikaru just blasted f6.
Barely sat
sat
at the
at the
board
board.
and
Yeah.
immediately. Okay, so the trade is pretty much forced because the rook is under direct attack with f7 check.
He went king d7.
Oh, okay, because I saw it take because Hikaru did take on e7, right? Somehow
Yes.
the video is ahead for me than the moves.
It is slightly ahead, yes.
That's funny. Usually it's vice versa.
It's the other way around.
In
No,
the
I agree.
future.
I agree. Yeah. Take on e7 and knight to d5. This is what we have right now.
So what do you think about this position, Christian?
I am liking it. I'm liking it for white, for Hikaru. I'm just
But
trying to understand
knights,
how.
don't knights look very nice? Knight e7 is coming.
You have, well, sure, you'll take that pawn. I understand that, but this is going to be a 5 versus 4,
Mm-hmm.
and I will be playing, and I think I have a very nice way to play against the pawn on h7. So I think those weaknesses coupled with each other is going to make it very difficult for you not to lose this pawn. For example, if I go rook f5, you take on e7.
Mm-hmm.
After rook h5, how exactly do you defend the pawn on h7?
I guess you cannot. Rook g7, bishop
Rook g7,
f6.
bishop f6. And you lose on
One of the pawns.
e5.
Yeah.
Rook h8, the same.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop f6. So you basically already lost the pawn.
All right. And if we don't take on e7 immediately, for instance, I don't know, h6 doesn't really work because rook h5, rook g6 then. And we want to take it next move.
Guess what? I have another rook.
Rook h1. Okay.
Now, if you go knight e7, I will take on e7.
You won't
take,
you won't
and
let
then-
it go, will you?
No. I mean, look, that's my advantage. The h pawn. I'm going to focus on your weakness. I don't have any weaknesses. White has a beautiful pawn structure. It's a reversed boat.
The reversed candlestick.
Yes. Something like that. Something like that. So no, I think rook f5 is a very powerful move. I think rook
certainly
f5
does look
is a
good.
very powerful move.
All right, so rook f5. What else? What else can a black do? Yeah, that pawn is very hard to defend.
I think
Although the knights look really nice in the center, even one without post, they are pretty much useless because of this rook being so active.
yeah, and they don't have any targets also, right?
Yeah.
There's no targets. Sure, I do have a problem piece again. It's the knight on b3. But guess what? This knight on b3 right now is keeping the rook under a lock and key. You cannot really go rook to e8, for example, even if you wanted to, because of knight takes e5.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why this rook f5 is so strong. Not only that I'm looking at your knight, at your pawn on h7, which is the obvious idea, but I'm also basically icing the rook on c8. The rook cannot move from c8 because of knight takes e5.
Mm-hmm. And we don't really have time to defend c5.
No, you have to. You probably have to go b6. You probably have to go b6. But these are already difficult moves to make because I go rook either f1 or maybe even h1. The idea becomes the same, and that is to attack the pawn on h7.
Okay, what about maybe counterplay? Instead of trying to defend h7,
Counterplay? Well, what counterplay, Maria?
I don't
You think you
know.
have some counterplay here?
Well,
Okay.
let me try. I
Okay,
don't
let's see
know.
what you have. Okay.
Rook G2,
I see what you're doing. Yes.
play 3.
You're definitely okay. I'll play it. I'll play it. I'll
Thank
play it
you.
for you. I'll play it for you.
Thank you.
Yes. That's a yeah. And look, I understand. I see e4 and I see that I'm attacking your knight and I get excited because I'm defending the pawn need to then attack. If you go e4, the same thing happens. The same thing happens. So yes, rook g2 perhaps is something that Hikaru is worried about. How do I defend that actually? Now that you're telling me about this move, rook to g2, how do I defend that?
Well, maybe you just don't. Or maybe move rook. I don't know. Well, the thing is, after rook takes on h7, there are maybe
Rook
just
f5 is on the board.
so many threats. So
Was
if rook
played.
g2, what if rook h5? Can we just give up that pawn and
What if I go here? Rook f1?
rook f8? That's your idea?
I don't think you can.
Maybe
You
not rook
cannot take,
f8.
right? Rook f8. I think you're busted.
Knight e7.
Knight 7, bishop takes
Bishop
e7.
e7. And we
That's a
cannot
piece.
take.
You take on e7, I take on c8. You take on f8, I take on f8 with the bishop, and I'm a piece up. It's looking good.
Yeah, it does.
After rook g2, stacking the rooks like this, as the chat likes to say. Stack them up on the f-file. Rook f8 is coming. You might be looking at some problems. And if you take on e7, you have a very nice, cute little tactic. You take on e5, take rook f7. How do you defend the knight? Probably rook to e8. Knight takes e5.
Okay.
Guess what? I'll take another one.
Okay. Then you
and guess what? I'll take another one.
Okay, stop. Leave me some pawns.
No. It's a full candlestick, reversed candlestick against these two paths.
Okay, I will take on
e7
e2
and
at
e5.
least, but I guess it's still pretty bad.
I still have a lot. I still have a lot.
Yeah, Christian is hungry. Didn't have breakfast yet.
I actually did not have breakfast yet, and I am hungry. So yes. Yes. This is a lot of pawns. 2 pawns for the exchange, but the problem is, especially the problem that I'm seeing is that you're completely stuck. You're stuck to the defense of this knight on e7. There's not a very good way to defend against it. I think this is just completely winning.
Yeah, so that pawn is either a threat on its own or a problem if you take it. Perfect. Yeah. It's true, we did lose with a candlestick yesterday, but this one is a reversed one. Therefore, result also will be reversed.
I'm liking this rook f5. I'm really liking Hikaru's chances right now.
It's really hard to find what to do, yeah.
And if anything, at least he's playing for 2 results right now. He got a position that looks somewhat like chess. There's no more hidden patterns. There's no more crazy things in the position happening. It's fairly simple. It's something that you know exactly what you're playing for. And that is obviously the support and the promotion of the e-pawn or the attack against h7. And Gukesh is the one, the onus is on him to try to find the defense.
Yeah, and he is deep in thoughts right now. Maybe we can take a moment to look at other games.
Let's do it. Let's go to the other side of this tournament, the semifinals, the other bracket independent of this one. And let's discuss this game of Magnus a game that you were mentioning, he's not feeling very comfortable with. And he played king c2. For whatever reason, Magnus did not take on c4. Why did he not take on c4, Maria? I guess he was hiding, but what was he worried about?
Yeah.
Oh, he did not spot knight h3, I think.
Yeah, but what is the problem with knight? Oh, knight e. Wait.
No, and just go back. And now you actually don't have where
And
to
if
put the
queen
queen.
h1,
You have to go to h1, yes. And the queen on h1 is
but
just
then
like
knight e3 and knight d3.
correct.
And if you go to g1, your queen is dead.
It's kind of it's sort of funny how these knights
Wow,
are doing so much damage.
that's a very funny little escape route for Magnus.
So you have to go queen h1, and this is a sacrifice. Maybe this was the right play even for Vincent. Maybe he calculated all of these things. Knight e3, bishop to d2. You take on f1. I gain some tempies, and now I just go queen to c4, and it seems like you have an irresistible attack against the king. Knight a5 is coming. Queen b4 is coming. Knight takes b7 is coming. You might be in trouble as black. Might be in trouble. So perhaps this is why he didn't take.
Yeah.
He played bishop a7, bishop d2. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Bishop d2, king b8, bishop e3, knight h3, queen goes out, h5, and a rook to d1. c5 is
Okay,
coming.
so hanging by a thread, right? But yeah, Vincent does have some ideas.
He's really playing good chess. Again, we've been talking about it, and we've been talking about it for a long time. Ali Reza thought he's picking the fish. To be honest, we all thought that he should be picking Vincent, and Vincent is proving everybody wrong. So, so far, it's looking good
I
for
did
Vincent.
think that that Alireza will pick Gukesh, but
You did? You thought so? Huh. I was sure he's going to pick Vincent. It just felt
you were
like,
right, but he was wrong.
to be honest, everybody thought he's going to pick Vincent.
Everybody was wrong.
We were wrong, yeah. I mean, he's obviously showing that, at least in this tournament. I don't want to say he's a class above Gukesh, but he's been finding some really good moves, and he's been playing some really good freestyle. So, staying on that side, let's see what Fabiano versus Sindarov are doing. We left it off after queen takes b3, queen to b3, sorry, bishop to e5, knight c2, knight f7, knight d4, the exchange of the knight for the bishop, and c5. Bishop f2, knight d6, take, a bunch of exchanges, and this is what we are left with. This one is not super.
No, yeah, the
super
bishops are gone,
exciting, I would
so
say.
that diagonal is not as exciting anymore. So this kind of petered out. Peter Leckert out.
Lecco, okay. I was just about
Although
to ask
now
you which
with
Peter.
Vincent's play, maybe we cannot say petered out about Lecco. Not
That's
sure.
true. That's true.
Peter Heine?
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I see that Gukesh is leaving the board. So there was made a move.
He just played a3. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. This one doesn't seem to be super imbalanced. Okay. Gukesh just played the move rook to g7. He wants that pawn.
He wants the
pawn on
pawn and he
e7.
wants to defend. He wants to sit on both chairs. Do you think he can?
What?
Both chairs, to sit on both chairs, to defend the pawn and to take on e7 as well. So the rook is with double purpose.
Oh, I didn't know about this thing. I was looking at the
I keep
video.
coming
Is he
up with some
trying to like?
obscure
Is
Russian sayings.
I didn't know about this one.
Two birds
Um,
with one stone, I guess, is the alternative.
I was
It's
looking at
just
the
more
video.
violent than sitting on two chairs.
I was imagining Gukesh sitting on both chairs, maybe across the board somehow. I was like, what is happening?
So you took it literally,
I was
like a
I
typical
took it
chess player.
I took it for a second there. I was like, wait a minute. And the chair was like, it's kind of inverted. So I was like, maybe Gukesh is hiding in one chair and like putting in. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where my mind.
Chair stream.
I don't know where my mind was. But yes, this is what we have right now.
Next level yoga. Well, if anything, Gukesh is doing a lot of yoga.
Yes. Yes.
So maybe he can.
Yes.
All right, let's focus on chess. Or
So
chairs.
chess or chair or chairs. Rook g7, rook f8 seems to have been obviously a very tempting option, but perhaps Hikaru discarded it because of a rook to e8.
Yeah, and rook f1 here already is not as powerful.
Yeah, rook f1 without a rook on the 5th rank. This rook on e8, obviously you can move it. There's no more knight takes c5 followed by rook takes c5 because the rook is not on f5 anymore. So it seems like the pawn on e7 is falling. Hikaru chooses, and perhaps chooses well, rook to h1. Forget about the question mark. Again, I don't believe in this question mark too much.
Excuse me, but a minute ago, this was the suggested move by the engine. It only calculated a bit deeper to come up with a different move.
Yeah, I don't think this deserves a question
I think
mark.
on a ply of like 20, rook h1 was still best move.
And it's very likely that the results are quite similar between rook f8 and rook h1. So yes, I do like this move. If you do take on e7 after rook h5, you are losing a pawn. You are losing the pawn on h7. I don't see how you can defend. Maybe knight d5, taking away this f6 square. But this is the style of calculation that Hikaru excels in. Very, tempo-based calculation.
Yep.
Rook h5, knight d5 to defend against bishop f6. I go e4. You have to move the knight to f4. If you go back to b6 or anywhere else, I go bishop f6, attacking both h7, e5, you're losing something. So you have to go knight f4. I go rook to f5. Again, you have to move the knight. And then I go
Still
bishop
maybe
f6.
bishop f6. Yeah, a lot of precise moves required from black.
Yes.
Well, Hikaru maybe has not one way to press.
Yeah.
You know what would be ideal? To get that knight from b3 to d5. But this is a dream.
Yeah. And to be honest, the knight on b3 for the moment is at least creating some tactical threats, right? Like, don't move this rook away because of knight takes c5.
Yeah, but I guess black will have to play b6, also stopping the knight from going to a5.
Maybe he should do so from the get-go.
He should. I think he should. I think he, instead of taking on e7, he needs to first do b6. e7 is not going anywhere.
I think he'll take on e7. I don't think he understands that he can just chill with b6. This is not easy. This b6
But
move
what
is not easy.
is there some concrete play? Rook f8 now, knight e7, right?
Rook f8, knight e7, yes. Yes. And if you take, I have the rook to take back with. Everything is protected.
Yeah.
So now this is fine for black. No, after b6, probably you continue with rook h5 is my guess. Even though now knight f4 maybe is coming.
Gukesh is still playing, right? Sorry, thinking. Yeah.
He's thinking. Yeah. No, he just got back to the board, actually. He was in the
Maybe
confessional
he was
somewhere.
confessing.
He was confessing to his
I guess we have
sins.
no other confessions lined up.
No.
It's a shame. Would be nice to hear more. I think last year they were taking advantage of a confession booth a bit more.
Yeah. I know they like to do that in Norway a lot.
Oh yes,
Again, I
but
think
maybe they're
Hikaru at some
secretly
point
being paid for it.
in Norway. Is that
Yeah,
some new conspiracy theory?
because in Norway there are like nobody knows. Like they say, players don't get any starting, like starting money, right? No,
Appearance fee.
no appearance fee. But is it actually true?
No idea.
Like,
No idea. No idea. I don't know their contracts. I'm nobody's manager.
maybe you get a better room next year if you had enough confessions.
One with better blinds, right? Because
Yes,
it's always sunny in Norway.
so light,
It's
so
it's always
for so
sunny.
long. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like 5 a.m. and it's still sun outside.
yeah. Or you get to drive your Mini Cooper. That also could be cool.
Yeah, Rook H1. It's looking like Hikaru has managed to find some serious pressure right now. And Gukesh perhaps realizing this and realizing that if he wants to stay in the game, he needs some precise moves.
Yeah, he was sent into deep thinking.
This knight doesn't move
No,
because you lose the knight on d5. This knight, if you take on e7 after Rook h5, we already know that it's not looking good. And perhaps this is the most natural path. I do believe that knight takes e7 is probably the most natural. And then you see knight d5, and you see that there's no bishop to f6. You're starting to think that perhaps you're all right. But then, of course, after e4, knight f4, rook f5, everything with a tempo. Knight g6,
and knight
bishop
g6,
f6.
but which knight even also?
Maybe you can go the other knight.
Maybe the other one so we don't have to play b6 later.
Okay, I'll take advantage of
Okay, now
this.
I guess we have to play b6 eventually.
b6, knight c4.
And you are heading to d5, right?
I'm headed towards
Well, for
attacking this
now,
pawn.
yeah, for now d6, but you also have an option.
To go towards d5, yeah. No, right now it seems like this is a very concrete position. If I don't end up at the end of everything with a pawn up, you're probably going to be able to equalize this. But you're really struggling to keep everything in place. Bishop to g3, and then if you move the knight, I pick up the pawn on d6. Bishop f6 with ideas of e5. I have a lot of ways to try to pick at your pawns.
A lot of ideas. Oh, wow.
He played
found
b6.
b6.
He found b6. He found the best move.
Wow. Well, that's why he's a world champion.
Yeah, and this is one of his biggest strengths, I want to say. Finding best moves in worse positions, it's something that he does very well. He's done it in the candidates. He's done it in the World Championship. He's done it at the Olympiad. Well, he's been having an absolutely stellar year,
That is still that he just
2024.
won. I mean, not won, but co-won.
Even in Tata Steel, yes. Yes.
People keep saying he won, so I did the same mistake, but he didn't actually win it.
No, Prague made his mark. So b6, good move by Gukesh, and now we need to find the path. a path forward because he will be taking on e7 next.
Well, without looking at the engine, I want to play rook f8, but
Yeah, rook f8, knight takes e7. We looked at this, right?
my idea, I'm not sure what was my idea anymore. Can we play rook c8 and d4? I guess the
Somewhere.
knight just goes
Let's go to
somewhere
g6.
there.
Yeah, I think right now you basically only have this rook on the h file attacking the pawn on h7,
It's
and I
better
have
to
enough.
keep the rooks.
Yeah, I have enough to defend, right? I will put the rook on the light squares. I will defend the pawn on h7. I should be fine. Hikaru is just about to make a move. He's ready. He's pointing at something. E4. Okay.
So if knight e7, his
Yeah.
plan is rook h5.
Rook h5, I think. Knight e7 is on the board, and rook
it
h5 is on
immediately
the board.
happened.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, rook h5 is on the board.
But like placing the rook on h8 would be a disaster. Even if there was no bishop f6. Just generally to have a passive rook is really bad at the rook endgame. Because it's your
Yes.
strongest piece.
Yes.
So Gukesh is definitely going for counterplay. So pawn on e4 could be a target.
I'm not sure if there is any counterplay. Like, where's...
Can d2 be attacked? Not really easily, right?
No, not so much. And right now I'm defending d2. Like, you cannot really leave the 7th rank. You will lose the pawn on h7. I think you still have to keep tabs and keep that pawn alive. Maybe the only way to do so is knight g8. I have two threats. Bishop takes e7 and bishop to f6. And both of them end up with me winning the pawn on h7. The only way to defend against both, and I think it probably already is on the board, is knight g8. Yeah, knight g8 is on the board, and bishop to g5. Both of these players calculated this.
All right, so what do we have? We have very passive position, but can white capitalize on this somehow? Because h7 seems to be the only weakness in Gukesh's position.
Yeah, he needs to go king c6. I think he
If we
has only
can-
moves right now.
If we can somehow force him to create one more weakness, maybe a4, a5.
Too slow. I think it's too slow.
But what's your plan?
I'm not sure I have one. I'm not sure I have one. I think this might be okay for black right now after king c6.
Well,
Which was-
currently we cannot take that pawn. The bishop needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and king c6 is on the board. The idea of king c6 is you're indirectly defending the pawn on h7. So at this point, I was already threatening to take on h7 because at the same time, I'm pinning your rook to the king.
Yeah.
Once you get off the 7th rank, if I take on h7, you just simply take on g5.
Yeah. So currently h7 is defended. So if
It is
Hikaru
defended.
wants to take h7, he needs to move the bishop away.
Yes, he has to go bishop f4 or bishop e3 or bishop somewhere.
I'm on a roll today. Already 2 bans.
What? What happened?
Went from 0 to 2 bans in one day.
You banned somebody?
I banned 2 people.
Wow. Nice.
Or rather, 1 bot and 1 people.
Nice. Nice bans.
Anyone else?
You're bringing the band hammer.
Yes, Hammer is not
party.
here, but but I have a hammer.
You have the hammer.
Oh wow, we already have people wanting to get the same.
I think they want us to start a ban war.
What do you get banned for? Well, you can find out, I guess. Mess around and find out. Yeah, sorry. Okay, let's go back to chess. So bishop f4.
Well, I don't know about that because people seem to be enjoying getting banned. Do you see this? Do you see this in the chat? They're like, "Oh, please ban me. Please ban me." It's like some sort of a contest.
Mm-hmm. And then they come back and say, I don't know what I was banned for. Justice.
Hmm. Hmm. That's very interesting.
Attention seeking.
So what do you do after bishop f4, Maria?
Let's see. So currently e5 is hanging, right? So we either need to move the knight or defend it. But if we defend it, we allow trade and maybe pawn on e5 will be weak. So maybe knight g6. Yeah, bishop is hanging again. Knight f6 defends it. Rook.
Yeah, this seems to
Getting
be
a
good
bit.
for black.
Yeah, it's kind of getting a bit annoying with those knights.
These knights are controlling a lot of squares, and I think you're just losing the e4 pawn. Okay, so let's try to be a bit more careful. Let's go d4, right? I think this is it. This has to be the critical way. If d4 doesn't give you an advantage, nothing will.
Yeah,
d4,
looks
you
like
take.
it. Take, knight takes.
If you take, I think you're losing. I think this is over. If you go back to the 7th rank, I can take on
Then we take
h7.
on h7.
And if you go
But
up, I think
I
you get.
guess, yeah,
Okay, you
rook.
lose. You lose
Yeah,
the rook.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so
taking on d4 is a big blunder.
denied. You
And
cannot take on
then
d4.
h7 is not hanging yet, right? We still, the knight is hanging.
I have a feeling that if you go somewhere like knight f3, which looks very natural, can I take on h7? Is
But we
this
can
something?
also play d7 check. Oh, sorry, d5 check. And then again, king going to b5 is probably too dangerous.
This king is actually
Aren't we just
somehow
checkmating them with
surviving.
a4 and...
I'm hoping that I'm checkmating, but I mean, the engine is saying that no, there's no
Yeah, and
checkmate.
is there sack on
Like one
a4?
way I would checkmate you is if you go c4 and
Yeah.
you take away your own square. So, but obviously black is not going to do that. You can infiltrate with your king c4, and you're somehow surviving.
Hearing the moves. No. Well, I was thinking whether a4 immediately is possible in this position.
In what position?
When
After d4 or before?
d4, yeah, d4,
Let's say I go knight f3.
yeah, and then d5 check.
I have to go to b5. I'm forced to go to b5.
Yeah, so here, right now a4 does not work because the king still has b5 and we don't have rook a5. And c4 also doesn't help. Yeah, king always can go back. There is no mate.
It does seem like he's escaping. He seems to be escaping. Okay, so d4, knight f3. We don't have to hurry up with d5.
Yeah, what about a... Ah, now bishop is hanging. Wait,
Let's just
wait a
move the
minute.
bishop back, right?
Wait. All right, he can take.
Or do you want something else?
No. The problem is knight taking the bishop defends h7 as well.
That's right.
No tactics possible.
That's right. Yeah. So let's go back, right? We have a move. d4, of course. d4 is the most critical. Hikaru understands that if he doesn't play d4, then black just stabilizes. So d4, he has played it. And now there's a big moment, as most likely Gukesh has a few options. My guess is that he's going to go knight f3. It just feels like the most natural move. I'm wondering if knight f7 works. Maybe knight f7 works as well. What do we think about this?
Bishop maybe e3.
Yes, let's go back.
I don't
Seems
like all those recommendations of the engine to h4. It just seems so natural.
What he wants with the bishop on h4, I guess, is defend against knight
Yeah,
f6.
but it just seems strange to put the bishop between rooks. Rook on h5 is also getting a bit dicey.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess now I have to defend. Defend
Yeah,
the pawn
but
on
then
e4.
e5 ideas happening. I don't know, rook f1.
For example, if you go
maybe?
rook e8, do you go
Okay.
e5 now?
No, knight d2. Let's play it safe. I still think white is better.
100%. 100%. No, 100%. White has options, yeah? White has some options. And at least the knights, and again, we've been discussing about this quite often, they don't have outposts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once the knights don't have outposts, at least I can start targeting them. This is the plan. This is the plan for Hikaru.
And even if the position gets simplified, one advantage that Hikaru has is his bishop is targeting almost all of the pawns of Gukesh. So even if we trade a couple of rooks, there are still chances for white, and I just don't see how black can take over at all. So it's very safe and comfortable for white to play.
Knight c4 was his move.
Okay.
So we were
Active.
we tried to choose his knight move, and we didn't get it. It's his decision was to go knight c4. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot of sense, because now the bishop cannot move anymore. We've been looking at bishop h4 ideas. There's no more bishop h4 because of rook to g2. And you actually, with the knight on c4, you lose the pawn on b2.
Bit of a problem, yeah. So maybe we can try to trade it.
With knight
Our
d2?
knight on b3 is not doing anything anyway.
Yeah, the more I look at this position, the more
the question, why
equal it
can't
looks.
rook take pawn on h7? Because our bishop on g5 is attacked by a rook.
Yeah, rook h7 never works because of bishop takes rook takes
That's
g5.
why Gukesh played king c6, to avoid the rook on g7 getting pinned.
Yep. Yeah, with the king on c6, it looks fairly safe. And the thing is, you might be saying, okay, d5 feels very natural because I'm not going back, right? You cannot go back to b7, c7, d7. You just lose after rook takes h7. But I just simply go forward. And there's not much. There's not much. I guess Hikaru could be thinking in this type of terms. But I mean, sure, I see there's some tactics.
Yeah,
But these tactics don't look very natural to me.
If there was no pawn on c5, then yes, sure.
Like, I don't even know what this knight c1 is. I understand you want to play b3 and win a piece, but if I go back, what?
He always has king. A6 as well.
Okay, you have some ideas, yeah? You cannot take on G5 now because of 92. That's a
Suddenly
nice,
it is a
nice
mate.
little
Suddenly
tactic.
it is a mate, yeah.
Nice little tactic. B5
Certainly can look that way.
and rook H takes
And mate.
A7, and you do get the mate. You
Mhm.
do get the mate. It's a long one, but you do get the mate in the end. But that's not going to happen. That's almost for sure not going to happen. It's such a tricky line to see.
First
This
A4,
is
then D5. We thought about it, but we don't have time for it. Wow. E5. What do you think? DE5, he is planning to take on C5. Is that the plan?
I think so.
And then attack E5. But I don't even see how can you do it easily. Our bishop has almost no squares to go to, only
Right.
C1.
My guess is he wants to attack it like this with rook H4 and say that if you go with the king on D5, at least it looks dangerous.
I mean, yeah, to play king D5, you have to calculate so many lines.
But you have to play king D5.
Yeah, I guess you have to.
I don't think there's an alternative. The idea being that if you do go back with the knight, bishop E3 creates a double threat. H7 and C5.
And E5 even.
And D5. A triple
All
threat.
pawns. All pawns under
Triple
attack. So
threat.
king D5
Yes.
is only move.
Yes. But I'm not sure this is what he wants. I'm truly not convinced that this is what he wants.
Well, he's trying to complicate. Practically speaking, it's the best decision.
12 minutes against 20 minutes. And it seems like the position is somewhat petering out. Petering out into an equal position, if not a draw.
And so does Vincent versus Magnus. Or at least they exchanged enough pieces for Magnus to finally have a breath of fresh air in this position.
Let's take a look. While Gukesh is thinking after e5, let's see what's happening in Vincent versus Magnus. So we left it off somewhere around here. After rook fd1, take on g4, knight c8, and c5. Very natural decision by Vincent to try to open things up. D takes c5, bishop takes c5, g6, bishop a7, knight a7, and king to b1. Opening up the rook on c1 and getting the knight ready to jump to c5.
Mm-hmm.
Queen
Very
h7.
logical play from Vincent.
Very logical. Take on rook to d6 and knight e2. Okay.
But it seems very logical to trade off this knight on the outpost on f4. Okay, that knight is not hitting anything directly. Also, it doesn't have many squares to actually land to. But at the same time, knight on g3 has no play, so I understand this decision.
This was the key. He was
Yeah.
supposed to take away this path towards d4.
Yeah, they
So the
restrict
idea
the
is
other knight.
the idea is very good to exchange the knight, and you can do it later. But first, what he was supposed to do is take away this square. Now, for example, if you go something like rook to h8, and I believe this is why he got taken aback, and that's why he didn't go for this. You have this beautiful idea, h4.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch the pawn on h4 because of rook to h1. So it's a good way to defend. Did not spot it, played the move knight to e2, and now I think Magnus is fully back in the game because knight d4 is coming.
Yeah, a4 was a very nice
Not
move.
easy, not easy move
No.
to see. Not easy move to see. Still some pressure from Vincent because knight e6 is the most natural move in the position, and that takes away the d4 square for the knight. But after rook to h8, you no longer have this idea of h4.
There
So
was
you have
another cute move actually that Vincent could have made.
at what
Queen
point?
f3, inviting the knight to go to b5. You play a4.
Here?
No, in the where he played knight e2.
Yes. So
Yeah,
here.
queen f3. So knight b5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a4.
you
And if
yeah.
you go knight d4, then you can take
Knight
on d4.
d4 and you take on d4.
Yes.
Also nice.
You lose
nice
two
idea.
knights for the rook. That would be, in fact, just
But I
winning.
guess instead of knight b5, Magnus has other ideas. In fact, rook b6 does seem quite annoying.
But it would have been a good move, and maybe even better than knight d2. He seems to
then-
have given up some of his advantage.
Yeah,
Let's
but
just put it this way.
playing a4 seems a bit dangerous, right?
Not easy. Not easy. Again, really a difficult decision, and I don't blame him for not going for it. Okay,
Yep.
back to the game of Hikaru, because I do think that we've seen a few moves.
Mhm.
E5, take on c5, take on c5, and knight to d2. That's a nice, cute tactic. You are regaining the pawn right now. So, for example, knight takes d2, bishop takes d2. I'm attacking two pawns at the same time.
So which one to defend?
Neither.
Neither
I think you go for your own attack.
activity, yeah.
And then you go rook d8. And then you go rook b8. And now we
Oof.
make a draw.
Okay. So we have to settle for a draw.
Seems like that might be the case, actually.
Yeah, because if you go, for example, yeah, king has to go to c1. We cannot go to, yeah, d3 we lose. Okay, so king c1, rook d8, bishop e3, rook there, we take on e5. This is dangerous, right? Rook b2, rook c5 check. Okay, rook a, yeah, we can give a check, and rook a5. Well, that is a
No,
mate.
no,
That
no,
is a
no,
mate.
no, don't do that.
That
Don't
is
do
a
that.
mate.
That would be the way we lose this one.
Bishop d2, they take on a2. So we are everywhere one move too late.
Seems like it.
Yeah, because if we could snap the pawn on a7, then we're fine. As long
Right.
as there is no mate.
Yes.
But yeah, everything is holding up. Despite that bad piece on g8.
It requires some precision from Gukesh, but if he does spot this somewhat forced idea of just pinning you down, you have to defend against the pin, then I'm attacking, and when you move the bishop, I continue attacking your pawns. And there's not really a good way to defend against that. Again, b3 unfortunately just simply doesn't work because of rook takes a2. You still lose a pawn. So everything seems to be just forcefully being traded off, if that makes sense.
Well, Gukesh's main strength is extremely good calculation. So I'm sure he can calculate all the way through here. He has enough time.
You can go rook to d1, but after knight f6, you're just simply too passive. I don't think you have enough. Like I can even go something like rook d6. You're sort of tied down, right? And then I push my pawn. If anybody can play for some advantage,
exactly.
I feel it's black right now.
Somehow we lost all of our positional advantage here.
It's just not enough. Yeah, it's not enough. And I think Hikaru is not going to take this type of risks. No, look, if Gukesh finds, and let's give it to Gukesh as well, he found the best moves. Like, again, it was not one of those games in which Hikaru had a decisive advantage and then let it slip. Gukesh
Yeah.
just found some really good defensive moves.
The question, why not take with the king? Well, we want to free up our rook on h5.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And the
can still
bishop,
force things right
and
now.
yeah, and the black actually goes
Check.
for kicking the bishop immediately and attacks the same way.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's pretty much the
Exactly.
same position.
I can do the same thing.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Gukesh says, you know what?
He's not taking a draw.
I'm not taking on d2. Maybe he didn't see this rook g2
We
idea.
did not consider, well, because we thought Gukesh is defending, but maybe he's not.
Knight d6. Okay. He's getting creative. He's getting creative right now. He wants to hold on to the pawns. Can we go bishop b3? Like, what's the problem with bishop b3?
Yeah. Rook
I will be
h7
taking
now
a pawn.
hanging. Rook e5 hanging.
Yeah, bishop b3 is on the board, of course. Rook e8, probably take.
Yep.
Take. You likely don't want to give up the a7. These pawns are looking very ugly, but somehow they survive. Somehow they survive.
Yeah, rook h5.
Knight f5 probably.
Yeah. Bishop somewhere, g1.
The problem with
f2.
bishop f2 is that I go
f2.
e4. And
Yeah.
now it's starting to look a little bit annoying with this pawn, right?
Yeah. Except we can maybe... Your knights now defend each other, but what if we play knight c4?
Yeah, and then we make a draw.
Take.
Rook e5.
Oh, you have a3.
Draw.
Maybe we should not go there. I have bad memories.
Yeah, or leave the... yeah, it doesn't seem like white has much at this point. So bishop e3... almost every variation that we're looking at, it ends up being a draw.
Yeah.
It,
We tried,
it's
Chad. We tried.
it's one of those positions in which, sure, visually it looks like white has tremendous strategical potential because of the weakness of the pawns. And but unfortunately, these two knights are in fact extremely good. Like the knight on g8 doesn't look like much, but give it two more moves and it's going to land on f5 or d5. And then this e pawn is a tremendous asset. It's just a great asset.
Yeah, very good compensation.
Yeah.
And in fact, he will be happy to get rid of that h7 liability.
Yes. Hikaru is definitely trying to win this.
Yeah.
I think he's been trying to win this since
The
they
entire
entered this
game
endgame.
he was pressing. That's not even a question. But Gukesh was finding all the best continuations. Not even what engine was going for, but he found his own way.
Oh, by the way, it's Title Tuesday today.
It is. Is it in 1 hour?
You think Hikaru is
I was thinking if
about it?
Hikaru finishes quickly, do you think he's keeping an eye on the clock?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he can stream from there, and I don't know if he has a setup.
Well, I streamed from there. Internet was pretty good. He can just stream from the venue quietly.
They do have a lot of setups.
They have streaming rooms, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he can borrow from Botas.
Yeah. No, they do have streaming rooms. It's a very nice setup. I just saw some tours yesterday on YouTube. I was following, and it does seem like all of the content creators have their specific room, their own room. is pretty cool.
Ugh, so you guys think that between Title Tuesday and enjoying the spa, Hikaru will choose the spa? I guess you don't know him that well.
Bishop to e3. Okay. What is Gukesh contemplating? Okay, rook e8. This is very, very natural. Very natural. And I'm expecting rook takes h7 very quickly. Yep. Yep. Rook h7. Most likely rook takes h7.
So rook g2.
Rook g2, I take on
Eyeing it
a7.
out. He's eyeing it out.
Do you think it's a possibility?
Yeah, I think so. If you take...
Knight c4 or knight f5, maybe.
Apparently knight f5 is much stronger.
It's possible.
It's not so easy to choose knight f5 over knight c4.
Yep. Yeah,
What do you
no,
think?
maybe rook g2 is something that Gukesh is actually considering.
He is considering at least.
The thing is, even after rook g2, I can go rook h2. Like, it's not like you're forcing me to do anything. He went rook g2.
Yeah. I think I know him after all.
Yeah, I certainly do. I mean, giving up the a7 pawn and not even thinking for too long. Feeling confident about the fact that he has enough compensation after taking on a7, both with knight f5 and maybe with knight c4 as well. But knight f5 does seem very, very good. Actually, it's kind of easy to calculate that you're just losing a piece.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think Hikaru is considering? To take or not to take? That is the question.
Rook h2 is the easy way out, let's say.
I think Hikaru is taking.
On a7?
Again, some noise. They both look there.
No, there's no way. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to take that type of risk. It's too risky. It's too risky. Taking on a7 followed by knight f5, you're giving up a piece like that. I would not do it. But then again, I'm not Hikaru, so I don't know.
Why do the commentators never interact with the chat? Oh, believe me, we do. You just don't want to see it. Don't tempt me.
You're getting baited, Maria. You're getting baited. Don't get baited.
What? King c1? Oh, okay. That is actually even better. I do see
C1.
everything. See beyond. See the future too. See what you're thinking about typing before you type it. Yeah, so he basically keeps defending the knight without having it pinned. A7 is still hanging. Defending it is very difficult. Like if you go for king b6, for example, you get b4.
Can you go knight f5?
Yes, you definitely can. Again, king d5 becomes an option.
King c1 was a good move.
Not so easy to do it though, right? King d5 might be a bit of a risk. b3.
D5 or b5?
Well, b5 I'm even more afraid to play.
I'm looking at rook b7 actually.
Yeah.
It probably
me
doesn't
too.
work, but it looks
Yeah.
nice.
I agree.
There's no mate. This is not a mate. You just take on c3.
You get checkmated instead.
I get checkmated indeed. Okay, so king c1, somehow it feels like perhaps this thing is becoming some sort of a game, right? Like it's not over yet. We thought that it would peter out, but it's not over yet. Okay, rook e7.
Right. So there are still some ideas.
Like what? What do we do?
Well, I'm using cheat sheet here. I'm looking at the engine,
Okay.
but even that is probably not really helping. No. Knight b3.
Hikaru is just about to make a move. Rook
He just
h2.
played rook h2.
Rook h2.
It's time. It's time to wrap up and go to play Title Tuesday, right?
You think so? You think he's ready?
Maybe.
But is Gukesh ready?
Well, but what can Gukesh do really? You try too
Overpress.
hard, you get a bunch of what was it, logs?
He can try to
And
overpress. Yes, yes, yes.
like if we trade now and rook h5,
That's right. That's how you overpress. And now you
the
have
the
to.
main strengths of Gukesh was having two rooks and ability to create this pins and checkmate ideas on the back rank. Now the rook is not really threatening anything. Knight f7. We come with knight f rook f5 as well. Knight h6. We give we give a check and take the knight. Yeah.
It's over. Yeah, no way, no way. There's no. He played rook g7.
Wow.
Well, chat, I
I
think
mean,
we might have a game now.
it's a good news for us.
I think we might actually have a game now after take rook h5.
Yeah, Hikaru is doing his face. He is not buying it.
I mean, look at him. He's a bit confused by what
He's
just happened.
confused, but it's because he did not expect it in a good way. Like he calculated everything that makes sense for black. This just did not make sense.
I think we have a
Well,
game right
face
now.
number. That's the face number. Okay, this is not working number.
I think we have, no, we right now have a game. Take on g2, rook h5. My guess is that he wants to go king d5. But king d5, I just go c4. Wait a minute. No, this is trouble. You take on c4, I take, rook takes c5, and you lose the pawn on c5. No way to defend against that.
Oh.
This is now a game. Take rook h5, very easy to calculate, very straightforward, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's saying that king d5 and king e6, but then I just can I take on c5?
Oh, rook d2. He wants to take on d2.
Okay, I understand, but even this is not that clear to me.
No,
like I go
the
here, I
knight
go
on g8
b4.
is simply too bad.
I push my pawns. I push the p.
Yeah, it's not in time to stop them.
If I get the a7 pawn, it's over. I have
Well, at least we are never losing this. That's for
I have
sure.
the connected passers. Yeah, no, this one is looking good. Play on one goal.
Like you have to bring the other knight somehow.
I did not expect this, but it does seem like finally some separation is being created, even if not a lot right now. But at least from a practical perspective, after rook to h5, you're starting to feel some danger. I'm not really sure what he missed. Perhaps he wants to go knight f7 and defend passively like this. But this is ultra passive. Like I go knight e4. You're
Knight
forced to
d4,
go c4. I mean, who knows? Maybe, yeah, no.
Can also play maybe well, no, not b4.
This
Well,
is
black
looking good.
also has what? 97. Attack the rook.
97 rook f6. Check.
King d5.
I take the pawn.
I mean, a lot of things to calculate, but
No!
h5
He played rook h5.
immediately. Now rook
What?
e7, right? But maybe it still works. Rook e7. He wants to bring the other rook or bishop g5.
I'm not sure what he missed. I am not sure what Hikaru missed. But yeah, rook e7. I guess he probably wants to go with the other rook. But then again, we're going to have this, which we know is
Yeah,
not
but then black gets one more tempo, right?
is not really a big problem for black.
Bishop g5, rook f7, rook h6,
Doesn't matter.
knight
I move the knight.
g4. Yeah, black just gets enough activity to defend all the pawns.
Rook e7 is on the board. If Hikaru wants to go play Title Tuesday, he's going to play rook h2.
Probably. But then he can take, right? He can think
If-
about taking.
If Gukesh repeats with rook g7, yes.
Yeah, maybe he had enough time to calculate. He just wanted to maybe gain time and check what Gukesh will do. He goes back. If Gukesh goes back, but the problem is Gukesh never goes back. At least not the second time. Oh, okay. He's not repeating. Hikaru is still playing for a win.
You think so?
I think so.
Hmm.
Rook f1. Okay. Okay, it's still difficult for black. It's way more difficult for black than for white. Like, for example, he wants to play rook f8, rook a8, right?
I agree. Looking target that knight on g8. Well, rook f1 is definitely against knight f6. Like
Yeah.
this is something that you want to play against, and that is the knight on g8. The knight on g8 cannot escape.
Yeah.
If the knight on g8 lands on d5, this is in fact going maybe be trouble for white. This is something that you really want to avoid. That's why he played rook f1.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And he's putting some pressure. Look, for us, again, it looks simple, it looks straightforward, but you're playing with no engine, obviously.
Yeah.
You are starting to doubt yourself at certain times and at certain decisions. It's not as easy to make all of these, what they look like simple decisions in the heat of the battle. Rook e6, saying that, okay, I understand you're not allowing me to get my knight to f6. I'm going to force my knight either to f6 or e7. He's looking at getting that knight to d5 or f5.
Okay. Well, we want to stop that, right? So bishop g5. He still will play knight e7, right?
Yes,
Rook
but what if I
h-
go e4 now?
Mm,
E4, look at that.
we just block it and attack c5. Yeah, that's a trap. I mean,
That's a
it's
nice little
unlikely
trap.
Gukesh will fall into it, but
Yeah, bishop
it's a
g5.
possibility. Yeah. Knight
You could be
e7, maybe
like,
rook h7 then?
but then
Oof. Oh, sorry, I'm blundering. It's
bishop on g5. I think you have to take. Take. Go rook h6.
if rook e1, then rook g. Wait, how do you defend? Again, king d5, I guess.
Or e4.
Or e4, but e4. Oh yeah, we have to block it then. We cannot play rook h4 because then e3.
You can go knight b3 to attack my pawn on c5, but then I defend, right? Like now, only with the knights on the board, you cannot really create a lot of separation.
Yeah, it's hard to attack anything without that bishop.
5
No,
minutes.
it's only me blundering the bishops.
5 minutes 40 against 8 minutes. All right.
And 40 minutes to the title Tuesday. Countdown. We need a title Tuesday countdown.
I truly don't think that he's gonna play title Tuesday, but who knows? Who knows? Bishop G1, Bishop H2. That's not something that I would be considering. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And I even have some
bit
tactics.
weird.
I even have tactics.
Hmm.
Tactics.
But we can take on f6, right?
Yes. Yeah, Rook D2, you can take on f6. It's still a draw. But you're not winning. You're not better. Like now, this is probably only black that can play for something after king d5. I have
Yeah,
the
the
e
pass
pawn.
pawn becomes more and more
I'm too active, right?
prominent with all the pieces are active and there are no weaknesses. Well, a7 is, but easy to defend, I suppose.
Yeah. So rook to e6, Hikaru is taking a lot of time on this decision. Really trying to find and struggling perhaps to find a way to stop that knight from going to e7 or f6. Maybe he understands that bishop g5, which was played best move in the position, could be just headed towards a draw after 97. But there's something to be said about Gukesh getting excited and playing e4. What do you think the chances are of that? Of that actually happening? Being like, okay, bishop
Very
g5, I
well.
see
If he had
e4.
under a minute, maybe, but it's too obvious, bishop e3, right?
You don't think he's going to get excited? It is obvious. Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of obvious.
Yeah. Well, things happen. People blundered worse.
Yes. Yes, they do. People mess up. Everybody
He's
does.
thinking a little bit. We could quickly check with the other game.
Which one?
Which one of them? Yeah. Well, Vincent against Magnus is still quite interesting. Maybe let's quickly have a look.
This is the position that we have in that one. And I would say Vincent probably still has a slight advantage. Not much. I do think that this knight on d4 cancels a lot of white's advantage. Just because, I mean, it's such a strong piece. But you still have a slight advantage. I'm not going to lie. I think it's there's still some pressure with the knight on c5, the potential of the rooks doubling up, stacking
Rook
on the f file, rook
f7,
f7 coming. There's still something.
Even d6 ideas with rook f7.
He just
Lots
played
of
rook
ideas.
f1.
Yeah.
He's stacking them up,
It's
ready
really
to
hard to
invade.
actually find how to protect c7. Maybe he's not gonna defend it probably.
I don't think he's too worried for the moment, for the simple fact that you do have h2. But I'll just give you an example. So let's say you make a random move, right? And I go rook here, you go rook f2, and it does seem like I cannot touch the c7 pawn, right? But you actually can, because this is just a checkmate. Check, check, checkmate.
Puzzle rush tactics.
Puzzle rush, yes.
Do your tactics chat.
So there's definitely some options. There's definitely some options.
Ooh. Gukesh just made a move. We did not expect that move at all.
Let's go back. a6.
I don't know.
Okay.
Are we getting excited? Maybe it's a sign
tell me.
of him being worried.
You tell me, Maria, are we getting excited in this one? Because I'm not I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a mistake. Like it feels just like a
No.
move that keeps the tension in the position, and in fact helps me from getting off this line of attack.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't like the clock. I'm not gonna lie. I do not like the clock right now.
Maybe Hikaru has bishop d8, bishop a5, and play for b4. That seems a bit too slow.
Rook e1. I like this move. Now knight f6 or knight e7 no longer possible because you just simply take and then take on e5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you blunder. You see, I was
Also,
testing
we
you.
don't really want to trade those pawns, guys.
I was testing you, Maria. That's how you blunder.
No. Still a draw, though.
It is a try. You still take it. It's still a draw.
Still a draw.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a question from the chat about b4. Like, we could have played b4 even now, but we don't want to trade our good pawns for the bad pawns of black. Like, all we were playing against all this time was the weaknesses, because these pawns are not defending each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
the
by
pawn on
playing
c5.
b4, you get him where he wants to go, to the endgame where black has no disadvantages.
Yes. No reason to exchange the pawn on c5. That's a good point. So
Also, the bishop is controlling dark squares. So while black pawns are on dark squares. Oh, did something freeze? I think we're back. No, we're back.
I think
We're
we
back.
might be
Just
back, right?
refresh. We need to refresh.
We are back.
We are back.
back.
Well, we were always here. You guys weren't. Haha. Yeah, the time is a little concerning. But Gukesh is now thinking, which means it allows Hikaru to think as well. I was saying that the pawns are on dark squares, which means our bishop has some chances to attack them.
Yes. That's certainly the case. Again, how do you get this knight out? Is the big question that Gukesh has been trying to answer for the last 10 moves. Since he landed his own knight on g8, he went there by himself. 95, 97, knight g8. He really wanted to get there.
But that's probably the idea behind a6. He wants to play knight e7, and then if rook h7, he has an opportunity to jump with the knight.
Yes, but rook h7, you always lose the bishop on g5.
Yes, exactly.
No, knight f7. Knight f7. Good move.
Okay,
Good move
f7.
by Gukesh. And the thing is, perhaps knight f6 is coming. Knight to e4 immediately played by Hikaru. I like this move. Take the center as fast as possible. I like this.
So what now?
And I like the fact that he's speeding up.
Yeah.
He's speeding up. Perhaps Gukesh is starting to feel the pressure of the clock as well.
Yeah, the problem with the knight on g8 still remains.
Yep.
But at least he can put more pressure on that bishop. To be honest, finding moves becomes more and more difficult, even though it's an endgame.
Maria, I see you're gifting subs.
Yeah, what to do? What to do? I love my regulars.
You should gift me a sub too.
Do you have an account on Kick?
Yes. I just wrote. in the chat.
Well, how was I supposed to know?
I even
What is
have
this?
a little, you see, I have this little crown.
Ah, C Squared podcast. Oh.
Yes, I even have a little crown. Okay, 96.
I'll
Back
think about it. You already have a crown, though. Others
Okay.
don't.
I
I
guess
don't.
so. I guess. I guess you're right. You are right.
Maybe I do, actually. I never checked. Do I? No, I don't. Oh,
But somebody decided to listen to
yeah, that's sweet. Wait, but you didn't
my
get.
plea. I still didn't get
You
it.
missed out.
I
You don't
I
chat
still-
enough. You know, those
I
who chat
still
more,
didn't get
they
it.
get it first.
Is that how it works?
So even those who get banned for spam get subs faster than you do.
That's sad.
Well, thank you, Harful Jeweler, for the 5 gifted.
Yes.
Yes, I am jealous of a crown. What can I say? I'm Russian. I like everything shiny.
I mean, you have the band hammer. I don't have the band hammer.
I do have
See,
band hammer.
you have the
don't.
band hammer. I think the band hammer is stronger than crown
It
in the
is
grand
true.
scheme of things. In the
I can
grand
ban
scheme of
you,
things,
yes.
you can ban me.
I
I
can ban
cannot
you.
ban you.
But that would be unfair. Cannot.
It's one of those
I'm a
honorary
fair mod.
titles. It's one of those honorary titles that doesn't really get anything powerful. There's no power to it. Just it looks pretty, but there's no power to it.
But the streamer will always see you in chat.
96, knight takes d6, king takes d6.
Give him a sub and ban him. No. I only ban those who are mean to me. Christian is not mean to me.
Let's go
Okay.
back with the bishop, or should we keep the bishop on? Do you like this bishop on g5? Do you just
I
want
never
to keep
liked the
on
bishop
g5?
there. I constantly blunder it, but that's me.
With rook h7.
Yeah. I'm happy to put it on e3 or d2.
I
E3
don't think he's
better.
moving that bishop. I actually don't think he's moving that bishop. I think he really likes this bishop for the simple fact that he's ready to
Well, I like
to give it.
c4.
Good move.
I like c4 because king cannot go on d5 anymore.
All right, I have a question for you. What if I go knight f6 now? You take, I take.
Take e5, rook f2.
You have to take with this one, otherwise you get mated. And after rook f2, I think it's
Yeah,
time.
it's probably a draw.
It's
There is no way to stop perpetual check.
No. I mean, there is a way to put the rook on d5. But that's about it. That's the extent of it. Like you give a check and then I go king c6. Then you can give another check and then I go king b7. And that's it.
Yeah.
I think we just repeat.
Because if you try to be too smart, you might even get checkmated.
Right. Don't do anything silly.
Yeah.
There is no
that
reason to do
probably
anything
doesn't
silly.
work for us. The problem is like, yeah, well, white rook goes somewhere, black just collects both pawns and then keeps threatening with checkmate. If anything, white has to force a draw then.
Yeah, so these are the two options. Now that there's no second pair of knights on the board, I think also Gukesh realizes that he doesn't really have any chances of winning this. Like perhaps before he was hoping that maybe due to the time he's going to be able to trick Hikaru. That's not the case.
No.
So I think at this point he's going to start becoming more comfortable with just repeating the position. Or allowing the position to simplify with knight f6.
Gukesh is also getting low on time.
Both of them are under 2 minutes right now. Rook g4.
While the bishop is still there are some chances.
Yeah. b3 immediately played. Knight e7.
Okay. But now we can give a check and put the bishop somewhere else and e5. I mean, that rook is very passive, right?
Which rook? The rook on
On
e6?
e6, yeah. Okay, I guess this is better than king move.
Yeah, if you move the king, I
But
think
that's why I liked bishop e3 so much.
you have some difficulties. And
Yeah,
now it actually becomes something.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
it
No,
certainly
if
becomes
king moves,
something.
definitely. But that's why maybe playing bishop e3 first makes sense, and then rook d1. Or we are not in time.
Can I get the knight to d4?
Now knight comes there. Okay. And if we play rook h7 with the idea rook f1, rook f7, then
Yeah,
you
I
play rook
think.
g2 immediately.
I mean, I think you just with the knight on c6, ready to go to
Yeah.
d4. You don't want to. You don't want to see this position. Okay, knight e7, big moment. You can take on e7 and basically call it a day.
Yeah.
After bishop takes e7, I think both players would realize that there's no more chances for either side.
Yeah. I
And they
guess
would
it's
agree to a draw.
the most practically best decision. Just avoid any counter attacks.
One more attempt. Just one more attempt. You go king c6, maybe, swing the rook to d8.
Yeah, no, if he reaches out to the king, I think he did give a check. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
rook
instantly
d1 and
rook
rook
d4.
d4.
Yeah.
Somehow
I
these
guess
players,
now
they
will
have
be
a
two
sixth sense,
trades.
right?
Yeah.
They have a sixth sense about... Because, to be honest, at this point, I would be seriously considering king to c6. Just to realize that rook d8 is not... It's pretty bad. So rook d4 was played. Rook to g1. It's still not over, maybe. It is
So he
still
wants to
not
play
over.
bishop e3 and rook g5. That's the idea.
Bishop e3 and rook g5 or rook... Okay, knight c6. We're seeing some numbers flashing.
Yeah, he won a tempo. So now rook h7, then bishop e3 and rook g7, and he's threatening with a mate. What do you do?
There are some numbers flashing on the screen. I think Gukesh wants to go to b4. I think he's getting excited about taking on
Okay.
a2 or knight d3. Yeah, and now we have a game, right? I
That's
mean,
the only way
especially if
to
you go
defend the
in.
pawn, right?
I can easily see something like this happening and then
Yeah,
realizing
but you
that bishop
lose an
e3 is just bad.
exchange.
No, it's bad. You're losing at this point.
Yeah.
Bishop to e3 was played, not rook h7.
What is happening? Bishop e3. Well, same idea, but now he can attack the bishop.
You have to go rook d3. Is
He
pretty
has
much
to
forced.
attack the bishop. It's only two moves possible.
But only one of them is good. If you go to e4, it's a funny position, but your rook is
King g2, king
pretty much
d3. Oh,
trapped.
wait a minute. We lost an exchange again? Oops.
The rook is trapped.
I guess rook d3 only move.
It's kind of a silly looking position, but it's completely trapped.
Wait, is it already Hikaru's move? So he played rook d3.
Yeah, he played rook d3.
Gukesh is just too good.
We're being told Magnus lost.
What?
Magnus blundered and Keimer just...
Someone stop this guy. What is he on? I want the same. Alireza drew.
And
Yeah,
this is
indeed.
probably what Gukesh was looking at. He was like, wait a minute. What just happened? So rook d3, rook d1, rook takes d1, king takes d1. Getting more simplified. Peter must be must be on cloud 9 right now.
Yeah. Peter is petering out.
Yes.
Or petering in.
Yes.
Hikaru's time is low, but I don't think there is any danger whatsoever.
No. I think right now the position has simplified beyond the point where you could be making a huge blunder.
Yeah.
Especially with, well, okay, I understand. Maybe knight to d4, you could be thinking that if you do take with the bishop, then I can take with the c pawn, and maybe there's some chances. But
Yeah, but
Hikaru is never
I-
going to take.
even if you take, I think it's fine.
Yes, but he's not gonna take. he's not gonna take. Rook to g6.
Yeah, Magnus must win tomorrow.
Okay, let's after Hikaru's move, after rook to g6, I'm just going to give a slight glance at what happened in Magnus's game.
G6. What about the bishop and knight endgame? Is it also draw?
Everything is a draw. Everything is a draw right now. King to e2.
No
Okay.
chances.
For 1 second, I'm going to move. Oh my goodness, what just happened?
That was that's
So
where we left, right? G4.
to recap really fast, rook f1, g4, queen c3, missed opportunity, rook f7 was better. Rook g2, rook g8, rook f2, rook d6, queen e3, king a8. c6, huge mistake.
Okay, but they both were under a minute.
Queen a3, nicely spotted. Now the rook is in trouble. You go rook d7, knight f8. So you basically just lose the exchange. And I think he just lost on time. He didn't make his last move.
Wow.
Magnus falls.
Nice.
Magnus falls.
Yeah, I actually did overlook that the time situation was so bad. Yeah, he made a move and resigned because he realized G4 is falling and the position is just the pawn is marching.
Yeah.
But yeah, even though he kind of equalized earlier, he used all his time up.
Okay, so what is happening right now? A3, knight to c2. Hikaru down to his last 15 seconds. He needs to make a move.
5 seconds. Move, move, move.
Rook h8.
Anything? Anything?
Rook h8 was played.
Wow. Oh, wow. That was a moment of... I guess my video is delayed a little bit.
So Hikaru is... Sorry, not Hikaru. Magnus is in a must-win situation tomorrow.
I mean, Hikaru also is, because he doesn't want to play tiebreak.
You think he just doesn't want to go to tiebreaks?
Well, he
Like
did
at
say
all?
yesterday he doesn't want to play tiebreaks. He will just play fast and avoid playing tiebreaks.
Yeah, rook h8. Okay. Obviously not something that you want to see when you're feeling like you're not at your best when it comes to when it comes to a fast time control. You don't want to be under 2 minutes. That's why Hikaru is, you're seeing a little bit of frustration. But knight takes e3, this is something that he really loves to see. Okay, now I think I'm ready to call it. There's no more chances for any of the players to step astray.
And Gukesh is with closed eyes.
No, this is good news. This is good news because I was getting slightly worried just because the knight is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the knight can get very tricky, especially when you're down to your last 5 seconds.
Yeah, though that moment was a bit concerning, but and I
Yeah.
see Hikaru is frustrated with that
Now I think it's just over.
yeah,
You take on
changing
b3.
everything.
I would take your pawn as well. Take on a6. Guess you can somehow still hope, maybe. Somehow
No, I
Hikaru
don't
maybe
think
can still
so.
hope. This is the
Hikaru or Gukesh? Who is gonna play for a win?
Oh no. Gukesh cannot.
No,
Gukesh
no.
cannot. He's just Gukesh is more is passive right now. But it's a draw. Yeah, this one is going to finish in just a second.
Yeah, the
Rook
king can
d6.
just run against the rook until it leaves a file.
This is going to be over.
Yeah, Fabiano also drew with Sindarov, but apparently there was a moment of a chance for Sindarov.
Sindarov had the chance. Wow.
Mhm.
No, I mean, again, Sindarov has been really, really impressive, just like Heimer. The lower rated players are really making waves in this tournament so far.
Yeah. But that's the format. When you don't have any prep,
Yes.
you can get lucky with a position, you can get lucky. Yeah. Form decides everything. Preparation is not needed. Okay, so what's happening? Gukesh is considering what to do.
There's not much not much problem at this point for either side. Like, you're going to get a pawn, but that's about it. Like, you take here and I go check, and then you have to go back. And this is just a Philidor. Easy position, yeah? Everybody knows how to make a draw in this one.
That's the Philidor, right?
Philidor, yes.
Yeah.
Perhaps Hikaru is still hoping, but they both know this is over. Like, for example, the easiest way. I'll just even give you the pawn. You want to take it, take it. I'm still going to give you checks forever. You go here, I go here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
go here, I
long
go
side
here.
checks.
And if you want to trade the rooks, I'm ready to trade the rooks. And this is a draw. Rook takes c4. I think rook h3 is the most convincing way, and he goes for it.
Unless he misses it. No, he played
No,
it.
he played it. He played it.
Yeah.
He played it. This is very much obvious at this point.
No, I mean he would not play Title Tuesday probably anyway. It was more of a joke, but at this point there is no time for even running there.
I'm sort of curious if king a5 loses. Even king a5 does not lose. This is still a draw. Which obviously you don't want to do, but like, just stay in front of your pawn. King c7 is the easiest.
Hikaru just went somewhere to check something. Oh, I think he got his jacket.
King c7.
50-50 that he will play.
Title Tuesday.
I mean, he even changes his flights to the next day if there is a Title Tuesday after the tournament.
Yeah, and that's a draw. I'm not sure if they already agreed, but they are repeating the position. So my guess is
Yeah,
that
they're
they
looking at
did.
each other, both wearing shades of red. And maybe a bit of analysis. Now I think we will see. If Hikaru is saying, no, I don't want to analyze, no interviews, and runs away, then it smells Title Tuesday. Guess we'll soon find out.
And that concludes today's round. Let's take a look at what happened in the other games as well. And perhaps we will be getting an interview with Hikaru. Staying within the bracket of Hikaru, fighting for 5th place, which is a cool $50,000, compared to 8th place, which is only $20,000. So there's a $30,000 difference that these players are potentially fighting for. And this is the game between Nodirbek and Ali Reza. It was getting kind of wild out of the opening. We left it off somewhere around here. And it seems like Nodirbek got a great position. Great position. D5, take on D5, knight D5, bishop G3. It seems like he's ready to launch an attack against the king on G8, which he did. Knight A5, rook D8. Queen takes E1, queen to E7. And now we get this endgame. Bishop to E4, perhaps the last missed opportunity. It seems like bishop to D7 was the correct way to keep an eye on G4. Keep an eye on your weaknesses. And this maybe is not that easy for black to defend. You go B6, I push the king, I start pushing P on that side. And you're sort of stuck to the defense. The knight on E7 is stuck to the defense of the pawn on
Also,
C6.
king cannot come out and defend the pawns.
Yes. So he played bishop E4, but now everything simplifies, and a draw was agreed soon after. Yeah, knight D5. You take the pawn, but it doesn't really matter because I take your pawns as well. So that's nice. That was a nice game. A draw on both of those games. The only decisive result is Magnus losing. Magnus losing.
Yeah, he was defending really well the entire game.
G4 was a mistake.
Yeah, but this was, in fact, does he have 5 minutes in this point?
At this point, after G4, he has 5 minutes, and he's playing against his opponent clock as well.
Ah, okay, so he rushed.
He rushed a little bit, yes.
But this is not the main mistake, right?
No, because Vincent did not spot rook f7, or perhaps did not think it's enough. So he allowed the knight to come to f3, and at this point, I think Magnus must be feeling quite confident with the knight on f3. Rook g8 and queen e3, and now comes the big blunder after king to a8, knight to e6.
Here he has 1 minute.
Here he only has 1 minute.
And the right move was king b8.
King b8, not easy. Not easy.
No,
not easy.
Because it also looks like you can sometimes take on c7 anyway.
Right. Right. He plays c6. And missing
Queen
this beautiful
a3
resource.
also beautiful, because queen c5 does not work, right?
Queen c5 is not
Queen
working
e7.
because of queen e7. And now
And what is the difference?
The difference is that the queen is not protected, and I have a threat to take on e6. So when you take on f3,
pinned, right?
I don't take on f3 and I allow you to take on g8, but you take on e6.
All right.
And the queen on a3 is under attack.
Right. So if queen a3, then queen e7, rook is pinned.
Well, rook is pinned no matter what. But after rook takes e6, the queen on a3 is protected.
On e6.
You just take on e6. And the funny part is that now I both have rook to b3, but also queen to b3. You take, and now the queen protects the rook.
Beautiful. He saw it with 30 seconds left on the clock.
He did. He played this move with 11 seconds, gained 30, back to 41. And at this point, Magnus can start panicking because he's just lost. He took on
maybe,
e6.
Actually, did Magnus have c5?
Yeah, but c5 is not really.
And then if you take then queen e7, or is it not working?
Doesn't really matter.
Now you have knight c7 check because there is no pawn on c6.
But I'm also just a pawn up. Like I can go queen a3 if I really want. I can just play a normal move. You're not threatening to take on d5.
Right.
It's just and this pawn is probably the most important pawn in the position. because you're never taking on d5 and displacing the knight from e6. It's over. At this point, it's over. And Magnus took on e6 and rook to c8 and resigned, understanding the fact that you just gave up the g4 pawn and that's it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he made last move and then resigned.
Nice game by Vincent.
Yeah, it was amazing. Vincent is such a so many surprises, one after another.
Yeah,
First
and
beating Alireza, then winning against Magnus.
he's
He
a player
finally
of
did it,
tournaments,
right?
Omar. He finally did it. I remember he did it
Wait,
before.
the first game of his match in the World Cup, he also won. It's then
Yes.
he missed the opportunity to at least draw the second game and he lost.
To
So
force a draw. Yeah.
now he has an opportunity to do it.
Yes. Well, he did beat him in Dortmund, I think.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. He
Heimer
did
did win against Magnus before. It's true. It's the match that he never managed to win in the
he
end.
never managed to win a match. And look, Magnus tomorrow with white. It's going to be difficult to stop him, right? This is not going to be an easy walk in the park for Vincent.
Mhm.
We've seen Magnus under fire. We've seen Magnus needing to win, being in a must-win situation, and very often he does win when he's a
Yeah.
must-win situation. So we'll see. Tomorrow, Vincent has to be coming on his best behavior because this is not going to be easy. And finally, let's take a look at what happened with Sindarov against Caruana. I think
Yeah,
we
very
left it.
interesting end to this game.
So we got this endgame
Mhm.
in which it does feel like black has the better pawn structure. Rook takes f3. Now you can understand. It's somewhat similar, right? Like 3 islands of pawns against a much better pawn structure for black, similar to what happened in Hikaru versus Gukesh. a4. Rook to a4, a6. Okay, where is the big opportunity? The chat was screaming that there was a big opportunity at some point. King h7, a rook to d1. Okay, okay, so far so good. Bishop to g3, knight to g4. Okay, h4. Knight e3 check.
Yeah, look at this position.
And here he seems to have had this move. Rook
Yeah,
to
Chad,
a1.
what do you see? What do you see in this position? I see a mate. Apparently there is only one way to stop the checkmate.
So if I try to move this bishop away, is this just a mate by force? Check, check, check,
Something is going.
check,
I guess you lose a rook.
check. Ah, you just lose the rook like this.
Or rook g6. Yeah.
Or rook g6 and then knight d5.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny walk in the park for the white king.
Yeah.
He missed it. He played the rook a5, bishop e1, good move. Take, take, take. And now we just simplify the position. Okay, guys, Hikaru is in fact going to stream Title Tuesday. We have to leave. We're
Okay.
going to have to say
Bye,
goodbye.
everybody.
He will be here. He will be streaming Title Tuesday. See you guys tomorrow.